All right, excited to have the first podcast out. I'm going to make this intro really, really quick. So I sat down with Ph.D. student Danny Hughes. He's doing research in the Congo with reptiles using DNA. Without further ado, this is number one podcast. Let's strap in, sit down, and shut the fuck up.
Alright, we're good. See, yeah, we're perfect. So, well, first, dude, what was the gold smuggler guy? That's the first thing that I was like thinking when I was driving over here.
Was the gold smuggler?
What the fuck, dude?
Yeah, that was one of the crazier people I met.
So, you're in Uganda, right? That was the first.
Yeah.
First when you arrived.
So we're in Uganda. We're in Kampala, which is the capital city. We're staying at a hotel called the Tick Hotel. We had picked up the boss at the airport and his wife,
Dr. Greenbaum, by the way.
Dr. Greenbaum, in Entebbe, which is a town close by, but that's where the airport is. We pick him up. The only flight that arrives is at 11 p.m. So we pick him up at 11 p.m. We get back to the hotel in Kampala, which is about an hour away. It's about 1 a.m. It's 1 a.m. So we walk into the main lobby. We go to check into their room. As I'm walking into the main lobby, I kind of glance to my left, and that's where they have the restaurant. I see a guy. Only guy in there, by himself, with a tumbler full of tumbler, which is just a glass that he drinks straight alcohol.
Okay, cool.
So the guy had a tumbler full of, I think it was rum, but it was a dark alcohol, and a big mound of peanuts. And he's by himself with his legs crossed, just hanging out, just drinking by himself. Okay, so I kind of glance, but I don't think about it. And I go up to the counter and Eli was still working with his bags and stuff in the parking lot, so we really get his room and then everything. Kind of stand there, just kind of twiddling my thumbs. And then the guy who was drinking calls me over, and I'm like, okay, I don't know who you are. He's an Indian guy. I'm like, okay, I don't know who you are. And calls me over, and I'm like, okay. So randomly, I'm like, all right, I'll go see what this guy wants. I walk over, I was like, me? You know, it was one of those things, like, me? I walk over, I'm like, hey, what's up? What's going on? He's like, hey, man, I'm Raul. You want a drink? Well, nice to meet you, Raul. And I'm like, well, I got some work I got to do really quick, but I might come back in like 30 minutes. I got to check my Wi-Fi. This is the only spot. And he goes,
were you like sketch a route?
Well, first of all, who calls? This is in another country, right?
I'm in Congo. You're in Uganda.
Uganda, one of the few white people in the place. When a guy calls you over, typically when you're in Africa, it's usually because they're trying to figure out a way to get money out of you if you're white. It's very common. Had this happen. So the Indian guy calls me over. I'm thinking, what the hell? There's something. Maybe my shoes are untied or something, right? He says he's gonna buy me a drink. I'm like, maybe I'll come down in 30 minutes. Yeah. But someone asked it, a free drink is a free drink. So I was like, okay. 30 minutes, an hour goes by. It's about 2 a.m. now. Yeah. I'm in my room. I'm like, shit. I gotta check my emails. I'm gonna go down there. Yeah. I go down there. He's still there, drinking by himself, just eating peanuts. One of these things. Drink, throw peanuts in the mouth, drink. So I sit down, I'm like, hey, Raul, what's up, man? My name's Danny. And he's like, hey, sit down. Talks really fast. He's really, his accent was very heavy, but he talks really fast. We start chatting. He buys me drinks. He's calling all the waiters over. There's two in there. There's two girls that are like sleeping. It's 2 a.m. The main guy at the front counter is like this, knocked out. And he's like, come here. I need to buy a drink for my friend. Yeah. He buys me a beer. He buys himself another two. He called it 4 fingers. He goes, give me 4 fingers, which means they fill your glass up 4 fingers high. So the guy was drinking, like seriously drinking, right? We start chatting. We're talking about India, because he's from southern India near the coast, actually near Burma. Really cool locality. He's telling me about cobras, because there's a monocled cobra from there that I know.
So he just started talking
about snakes, because I told him, hey, look, this is what I'm doing in Uganda. I'm here looking for reptiles, snakes. He goes, snakes. He lights up, right? So we start talking about cobras, because I know India, those type of things. Then an hour passes. Now it's like 3 in the morning, and I'm like, well, what the hell are you doing here? That's when all hell broke loose, because he just starts going on and telling me that he's there as a mediator between people who are stealing gold from Congo and want to sell it to the Indians in Uganda. He's the middleman who meets the guy either at the border of Congo or somewhere in Uganda and then connects them with the Indians that are in Kampala, in the main city that have the money. So he goes on to tell me later that he actually did do some mining for gold in Congo. But he was basically, his job was, someone gets his number who has gold in Congo, who's already done all the mining, the guy on the ground, gets his number, calls him.
Just kind of gets around.
It gets even weirder.
So,
let me tell you. So, because that's the questions I had. I said, well, how the hell did they get your number? But, so he's the middleman, right? Yeah. So he just sets them up with the Indian guys that have all the money. So then I start asking questions like that. Well, how the hell do they know you? How do you get in contact with these people? He goes, oh, I don't know. People just kind of have my number. I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, here's an example. I arrived in May. This is Raul talking. He says, I arrived in May. It's now June when we were talking. He goes, when I arrived at the airport in Entebbe, in Uganda, 2 guys were there waiting for me. And I go, have you ever seen them before? He goes, no, I've never seen these guys before in my entire life. And they say, Raul, come with us. He looked at him and he said, no, I'm not going with you. And they said, no, you're coming with us. They tried to strong-arm him. Yeah. He said he turned it into a big brawl, started yelling and everything. Security comes over. Because he knew if he got in those car with those guys, he was going to be kidnapped, and they were going to bribe him for money. They're going to call his family. He was going to have a shitty time. And I said, well, how the hell do they find you? He goes, they track the flights. They find your name on the flight. They know your connection from the past because he's been going there for several years.
There's fucking numbers everywhere.
His number, and he said that's kind of part of it because he needs to get his name out there. So he basically is willing to give his Ugandan number to anyone who asks, and he tells them to give it to their friends if they happen to be gold smugglers. But yeah, and that was less than 2 months before. That was less than a month before I had talked to this guy. So he was almost kidnapped at the airport of Uganda, just simply for being himself. Okay. Just absolutely insane. My mouth is dropped when I'm talking to this guy. He then goes on.
It's like literally the movie Blood Diamond.
Blood Diamond.
With Leonardo DiCaprio, but Indian style.
Indian style.
He's just Indian, dude.
And his job, so it gets weirder, because I'm like, okay, that's kind of like, he starts telling me a little. Then I go, okay, well, what the hell did you do before you're a gold smuggler? It's like, he's like, I worked for the Indian government.
Yeah.
He was the guy, for the Air Force, he was the guy that trained people how to fly the F-16s in India. So this is a highly intelligent guy who worked for the government for, I think he said either 9 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Something like that. He's been working for a long time. One day just decides, fuck this, I'm not doing what, he literally told me, he's like, we agreed on a lot of things, because he had that kind of stick it to the man mentality. He was like, fuck this, I'm not listening, I'm not being told what to do anymore, I want to do my own thing. And so he decided to be a gold smuggler in Congo. He's the only person I've ever heard say Congo is the land of opportunity. Yeah. No one says that. No. This man thought that because of their natural resources, why is the place to go?
I guess you think he says that because the fact that Congo is just open and anyone can just come in. I mean, good luck. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, good luck. Yeah. You know, but you can just come in, almost set up your own rules. You got some money.
Yep.
I mean, the exploitation of, that's one thing that, and I've had friends that always ask, oh, what do you do? Yeah. Oh, Congo or whatever. And they're like, Congo, or whatever. And especially the whole Cecil the Lion shit going on.
Oh yeah.
I go, you guys have no idea. We see poverty here. We're right on the border, right here in El Paso and Mexico.
Yeah, in Juarez.
But there's another level of poverty that I don't think people understand. The level of poverty, man. Like, I'm sure you. Like, what was the first thing when you landed that just threw you back? That you're like, the first thing you're like, fuck. What'd you say?
I mean, the big cities are crazy because there's so much shit happening. So you'll see a common sight is to see looks like a 70-year-old woman with probably 50 kilograms of logs carrying on her head. I mean, she's just walking. You'll see bicycles that have, like, literally a regular bicycle you would ride. Stacked on the back are live cows that have been tied. Just tied around it with tubes and such.
Just a regular bicycle, not
Regular
a motorcycle?
bicycle, not a motorcycle. Cows, you'll see chickens, everything just, and these things will be stacked high. And the guy's pushing the bicycle because he has no other means of transporting these goods from one A to B, right? I mean, some of the more shocking as far as poverty goes, but was just food in general and what they eat and what they're willing to serve you for the price you're willing to pay. We would pay for a meal that consisted of matoke, which is steamed bananas, rice, beans, sometimes sweet potatoes or something else, but a full plate and a side of meats too. They always boil everything. We would pay 5,000 Uganda shillings, which the exchange rate at the time was 3,000 shillings per dollar. So we're paying about $2, a little less than $2 for a huge plate of food. But that's literally what they have. They have a ton of those type, like rice, and because they're working on beans, but they don't have money. They don't, so they're willing to charge you very low prices for a lot of food. It's just mind-blowing. I mean, another example, Uganda not so much. They're a little bit more developed, but Congo, you'll commonly see people that are road workers. And in the U.S., road workers are wearing helmets, huge boots. There's like a security guy. Yeah, it's very safe.
7 supervisors.
Yes, 7 supervisors. Everyone's watching. These guys, no helmet, sandals. These guys are pouring like tarmac, like the asphalt. This is highly dangerous chemical. I don't know. I don't even want to get near this thing. These guys are out there with flip-flops, just doing road work. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this is government mandate. It's from Ugandan government or Congolese government that are putting them to work. Safe OSHA, which is the occupational hazard U.S. thing, they don't have that there. So they just don't even. It's more of like a management thing because it's a trickle down. It comes from the top. As far as they don't know how to manage things, they don't know how to implement programs to kind of raise awareness about poverty and bring people up. And it's just not there.
Do you think they, in your own personal opinion, you've been there twice now? Do you think they okay, are we talking about Uganda or Africa in general? Or let's talk about Uganda.
Yeah. I've been there.
Democratic Republic of Congo. Do you think they actually have the means to actually get out of that? Because I had a conversation with a guy about that, and I was like, he's like, oh well, it's just all the white people would just leave. I'm like, I go, dude. First of all, I understand where you're coming from, fine. But do they even have the means, from what you saw, to even raise up from that? Or do you think it's going to take someone like the United States to come in?
Intervene.
Which now we go into, now like, why are you intervening? Just leave them alone.
Let them do. Okay, so it goes back to independence. Congo got their independence in 1960 from the Belgians. The Belgians spent the entire time, their colonization, from the 1800s and on, King Leopold II, oppressing the Congolese. No education. They didn't teach them how to read. They didn't teach them how to manage anything. They gave them no positions of power the entire time. They were basically treated as slaves. The Congolese, empowered in the 50s, said, we want independence, because they saw other countries doing it. They said, we don't care. There was a few educated elite. They pushed really hard to get independence. They eventually fought hard enough, got the Belgians to leave, got independence in 1960. No one knew what the hell to do with it. So all the infrastructure that was built by the Belgians in the 30s, 40s,
just started crumbling, right?
Crumbling. It has not been touched since then. Because the Congolese were so pissed off, and it's the Belgians' fault, honestly. It's the colonizers' fault, because they didn't leave it in a place to where it's like, okay, hey, I've trained you to the point where I now feel comfortable to leave you to do this on your own. It was the trainees were saying that weren't being trained. The trainees saying, we don't want you as power anymore. We can handle this. Exactly. So they did it too soon. And that's what it comes down to. Uganda had a similar thing, but a little bit better. The British treated them a little bit better as far as training and giving them education. Because really it comes down to education. They don't even know how to read, man. And some of the first real ruler of Congo was a dictator. Man didn't even have a basic education. Mobutu. This guy was in power from I think 1965 to 1993. He got all this support because the U.S. Congo has all these resources, right? Natural resources. And
which is the one that goes into the cell phone? For everybody listening on this fucking recorder.
It's,
literally,
it's the vibration. Yeah.
I have literally an iPad, a Mac, and this recorder, and more than what is the?
I think
is
it's
it
like
Cobalt? You looked that up.
It could be, but and it creates the vibration too in your phone too.
Really?
Yeah. That's what Eli was saying. That good doctor. But uranium. It's what nuclear bombs are made of. One of the largest concentrations on our Earth is in Congo.
That's crazy, dude.
Guess what was going on in the 60s? At the time Mobutu comes to power. Cold War. So U.S. financially supports Mobutu, so he doesn't give the natural resources they have to Russia to keep out the cold, so to try to prevent the Cold War. So they couldn't build, because that's the raw resource that goes into nuclear bombs.
So they were paying him. So United
Paying
States
him in
what,
forms
not
of
to give
governmental
anything.
aid.
So not to give anything to Russia.
Exactly. Basically. Like, hey, look, I'm going to give you all this money, but you can't allow Russia to come into your country. And we're going to disguise the money in the forms of political aid or human welfare, these type of things. Like, oh, we're going to, for food. What Mobutu would do is, as the money comes in, he would pocket almost all of it. He had his own mansion in France, because they speak French, so he had his own mansion there. He had a mansion also in Congo. He would fly daily, his own personal jet, from Congo to France, just to get, like, I read stories about him just going there to get a certain type of champagne because he really liked it. So he was abusing the money that was given to him, that was supposed to be going towards the country.
So literally, the United States is like, look, here's the fucking money.
Yeah.
Just stop, just pretty much don't sell anything to Russia, and do whatever you want with it. There was like no guidelines, or there was guidelines.
There. I'm sure there were some guidelines.
What?
You gotta do, because they would give it to him.
Yeah.
I think the problem is they would give it to him saying, hey, look, your people are poor, feed your people, right?
Yeah.
He would then keep it all to himself. U.S. sees this happening, but they kept giving him the money. Because they
What are
knew.
you gonna do?
Because what are they going to do? If they stop giving him the money,
Then
then
like,
Russia. He says, hey, Russia, guess what? U.S. is not giving me any more money.
Come in, bitches.
And
Come in.
The bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima in Japan had resources from Congo in that bomb.
Really?
The uranium that was in the mines from Congo was put into that bomb that dropped on Hiroshima. One of the biggest things.
So then we set up mining operations.
Oh, yeah.
Was that part of the deal? Hey, let us set up mining operations?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Fuck, man. Dude.
So it goes deep.
This just the mining that happens, man. And we just like...
Oh, yeah. It's all open pit mining. And these people have no better alternative. Like, the local people that are actually doing the work have no alternative to this. It's either this or try to figure out subsistence farming. Grow a few beans so your family can eat.
But then, and that makes sense.
Yep.
And then in a way, we kind of come in, as you've been, you come in and you're like, hey, well, we got to conserve this place. You think we play, it's kind of like, it's like, well, then you get stuck in the middle of no education.
Yeah.
Oh, I need you guys to conserve this place because there's only one specific frog.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like they're literally just in the worst possible position that you can even think of. I see it.
It's a mess, and it's still a mess because the guy who's in power now, Kabila, is a dictator as well. He's doing the same things Mobutu was doing in the 90s, 80s, except he's doing it in a more modern way. It's a little more subtle. He's not as extravagant. He doesn't have the big mansion. He doesn't have one in France. He's not flying every day on jets. But he's doing very similar things.
Yeah.
And then it trickles down. So the people that are below him see there's a lot of hiring of your own people, right? For them, it's really about
Keep it in the family.
keep it in the family and your own culture. Because within Congo and within Uganda, they have different regions. that they'll say, like in the U.S. we have the South, and you can pick a guy who has
the South.
a Southern accent,
By the way.
Confederate flag. You can pick him out. You can say that guy's probably from Georgia, right?
And then I'm sure they have their own, like, what do you call it? Not misconceptions, but they're like, they already come with like a stigma already.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, he's from the South.
Yep.
You know he's a racist. You know he's a racist.
I was having this conversation just the other day because I think racism in U.S. has been so focused on white people being racist towards any other race, right? And they say, oh, well, racism is so strong here. Racism is prevalent in Congo among Congolese. If you're from Katanga province, people in Oriental province don't like you. And they have certain things that they say about you that you're uneducated, you can't read. In Uganda, a semi-well-developed area, literally. My colleague that I worked with, he's from, they call it West Nile. It's on the western part of the Nile, closer to Congo. But he was born in Kampala, which is the elite, the educated. He goes to West Nile with me to look for snakes and everything. We're up in this area collecting.
You mean elite, educated? What do you, like...
That's where the university is. That's where the president lives. So everything that's the city center. That was, historically in Uganda, it's about kingdoms. And the Luganda kingdom was centered in Kampala. But that's where all the money is. That's where all the educated people are. Once you start going, they call it up country. Once you start leaving there, there's like a cliff. It just drops off. You can almost see the poverty line, like just right down there, literally. So
the poverty line is right there.
You see that hill?
The shacks.
Yeah. It's your
starts right there. Just like in India, have you seen those? Like people, like literally, you just have these towers, dude. Have you seen that Vice episode?
No, I haven't.
Where there's people just literally like, there's just few families and they just have literally like buildings, dude.
Yeah.
Like the education building at UTEP.
Yeah.
Imagine that's a home, and next to it is just fucking slums.
Yeah,
People are like scrappy. And you're just kind of like, what the?
Yeah, they had a whole caste system in India that was really messed up. I remember the people at the very bottom were treated like not even human, like dogs, worse than dogs. But you know, the same thing is going on in Uganda. Every country has a part of the country that they think is stupid, uneducated. In our sense, is redneck. You know, those type of the South, those type of things. Oh, you must have a shotgun in your house. You know, these type of
with the whole Confederate flag.
you must have a pickup truck with a Confederate flag hanging up. Those type of things. It's the same thing in Uganda. He was so from West Nile, born in the elitist Kampala. We go back to West Nile. He had to try to convince people from West Nile that he was from there. His family's from there. He just happened to be born in Kampala. This is a country. It's not very, very big. Pretty small, Uganda. No one believed him. His accent, the way they're like, you're not dark enough. Literally, people told him that. And this is Ugandans talking to Ugandans. For me, they look dark. I'm like, they're black. And so I'm like, okay, you're Ugandan. But they could actually differentiate at that level. That subtle level where an outsider myself couldn't differentiate between the two. I say, okay, you're from Uganda. You happen to be from this little bit drier region up here, and he happens to be from the city. But he's technically from there. Is this where his family is from? His village is there.
Like I can see that because even in the Hispanic or Latin American culture, like wherever I go, man,
you can pick out someone from southern Mexico versus Oaxaca or Chihuahua. Yeah.
Oh, me, man. Yeah. Like they pick me out. Like they're like, where are you from? Because of my Spanish. Usually because it's like people have told me it's because you speak very slow. Yeah. They say you speak very slow, or they can right away pick up. You're from the United States, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah. But usually it's because I don't carry any other slang terms that they have or anything like that.
Those local little dialects or from growing up.
And I mean, even, and I understand when people are like, oh, well, yeah, everybody down south is all Mexico. Yeah, in a sense, whatever. But, you know, there's Cubans and so many. And I could tell, like, usually I can tell the way they speak. The way they speak. You know, the way they speak is they'll say, he's Puerto Rican, he's Cuban, or whatever. They have their own little accent.
But I think that there's a misconception that other countries don't have this type of issues that we're having in the States. But the States, and people always say, oh, we're not political correctly, we're not PC enough, right? You always hear that type of bullshit. It's bullshit. America's at the forefront, the most progressive country. Integration is like so high. I mean, there's a lot of racially charged crimes that seem racially charged from the outside, but we are so far ahead in terms of integration of different
Dude,
cultures.
people will come down. Oh, people will come down on you so fucking hard, dude.
They're offended by like, you're just describing a person, and people are like, oh, why would you say that?
Did you
That's
see
not...
lately Richard Dawkins? They came down on him
No.
because he said the Muslim women. I forgot the quote, but he literally said, "Look, the Muslim women are treated as second-class citizens." I'm probably butchering the shit out of it.
Right.
He literally said, "Look, there's a problem with Muslim women. They're treated as second-class citizens. What should we do?" Oh man,
People are pissed. Yeah.
they're like, "How dare you?"
Right.
You know.
Right from the streets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like he's not even saying anything bad. You know what I mean? He's not even saying. And the way I see it is just like he observes something. He's like, whether you like it or not, man. Right now, Muslims are in the news. Okay.
Yeah.
Not all of them are bad.
Yeah.
It's usually about 10%.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know that much about Muslim culture. That's actually one thing that I really want to do is get somebody that's like really knows their history about like being Muslim.
Someone who is Muslim.
So they can talk about that. Because, dude, have you seen the comments like on Facebook and shit?
Oh,
I'm just like, oh, dude.
People go to town behind that computer screen, you know?
Yeah, I'm just like,
They get bold, brave. They're all of a sudden like, ooh, Richard Dawkins. You know, lowly guys talking to the scientist Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins saying, oh, this guy's a dick. Like, literally, people will say that shit.
and then I was fascinated by the just super outrageous. They should kill his family. His whole family should die. I'm like, bro, aren't we just? What the fuck, man?
Oh, yeah.
Like, dude, I've had conversations and I'm like, are you guys, not conversations, but I just put it down like, are you aware of what you're saying? Like, you're saying that you want to kill, his whole family should get killed.
Because of something that he said.
Like, I read I don't know if you did, but that's one of my favorite parts, like, especially the whole, the dentist that killed the lion.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, what does his family have to do with it, man?
That story is getting even more interesting, by the way.
I heard little tidbits about it.
So in Zimbabwe, which is where it occurred,
Yeah.
has all the same problems that other countries have. They have a dictator in power in Zimbabwe. And what the government wants of Zimbabwe is, I forget the dentist's name, but they want him extradited. They want to take him from his little home and his little dentist's office, pull him into Zimbabwe and try him as in their country. They want to put him under charges there. African jail. Oh, could you believe that though? I mean, and it's where that stems from is the amount of attention it got online, international. This is an international issue. Is a lion being killed? Come on, isn't that crazy?
You saw the response. Like,
I saw it. Yeah.
Even in our lab. Look at our lab, dude.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
divided.
I don't want to be like.
It's divided.
I mean, did you kind of know? Did you really know like the kind of what side I was gonna fall on? Did you think like, Aiden's gonna be on this side?
Well, what I like to do is say, okay,
you were
what
like,
is everyone
I can't
gonna
wait
say?
for this motherfucker
No,
to
no,
watch
I
it.
say, what is everyone gonna say? Aiden's gonna say the opposite, because that's the way you go. But that's cool because the majority, like 89% of the people, are saying one thing.
Yeah.
You can be in that smaller 11%, which is good because you got to say, hey, look, there's two sides to every coin.
Because I sit there and I'm like, okay, man, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, he shouldn't be taking pictures. Fine, maybe he shouldn't be killing that lion. But look, I look at it as like the most rational way.
Yeah.
Very few lions. We need money to protect them.
Yeah, $50,000 you pay.
How we need to use this money? Okay, it's like you go in there and you're the main guy, and you're like, hey, there's only one frog here.
Yeah.
We need to protect so many acres. African people are gonna be like, well, where the fuck am I gonna farm?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where am I gonna farm? What am I supposed to do?
The local people
I
have
can't
huge
read.
problems with national parks.
You know, so that's a huge problem. And or how people, I just barely learned about poachers. It turns out that like a lot of those poachers, man, they literally make like makeshift guns.
Yeah.
They make makeshift guns. And I mean, and I've had conversations actually on Sunday. I had a conversation with people. I'm like, put yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
You know, they'll give you $200. They'll give you $200.
Yeah.
And to us in the United States, you're like,
Nothing. Right.
but over there, $200. Just remember when you would tell me that story when you guys were stuck in the fucking mud, and it was like for like hours that they were like pulling you guys out.
Yeah.
I was just like,
Oh yeah. Okay, that was the whole village showed up to push us. These guys worked their freaking asses off. I mean, I would have taken $100 if I had to work as hard as these guys were digging in mud. They were digging our truck out. We got stuck, I think, at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
We didn't get unstuck until 2 in the morning. This 12 hours of work. These people were putting in serious work, and they were digging, yelling at each other. Small fights would break out, and I'm just sitting on the side like, I want to help. But like, they don't care. They don't want me helping because they're earning money.
Yeah.
We ended up paying those guys.
How many dudes was it? How many guys was it?
It ended up being around 10 guys that we decided worked hard enough to get money.
Oh, because there were some guys that were.
There were some guys that would like do a little thing and then they'd kind of stand off on the side. But there were some really strong guys that were the big serious one directing and everything. We ended up paying about 10 guys. I want to say we offered them $25. They were thrilled. They came back to discuss with us our collaborator.
Who's
and
your
we said,
interpreter there?
Aristo.
Or do
His
you-
name's Aristo.
And he's like the one who.
He's Congolese. He's from Itamwe in the highlands of southeastern Congo. He speaks English, French, Swahili, a little bit of everything. So he's the one that we use to negotiate. So we originally, this is what we said. We said, hey, go ask them how much they want. It's pouring down rain. It's 2:30 in the morning now. Our truck is covered in mud. These guys have been
Where's
working.
Dr. Greenbaum?
He's just sitting in the car. He's sitting in the truck. Okay, but anyways, so it's like, so we go, so ask them how much they want. They come back with their first offer, $25. I looked at him, and this is my first experience here. I said, $25?
This was the first time you went, right?
This was the first time I went, and this was the first time we really got stuck in the mud. The roads are terrible. I told you, infrastructure is just
Because I know I was
terrible.
reading the blog. That was
Yeah.
my first semester, I think, in the lab. And I was reading. You guys were just stuck in the fucking mud.
road troubles out the
Who
wazoo.
was the guy that didn't want anybody else to drive?
Faustin, our driver was terrible. Whole nother story about Faustin. But, so they say $25. I look at him and I say, I'm in the back, I'm the student, so I can't really say much, but I kind of was like, that's it? And he was like, yeah, that seems a little low. Tell them we'll pay them $35 or $40. He only had $20. Tell them we'll pay him $40 American cash. We don't have Congolese francs at this time. Tell them we'll give them $40 cash and see if they like that. Aristotle walked over to them. It's pouring down rain. Everyone's covered in mud. Everyone was miserable except for these guys. They say, hey, we'll give you. Aristotle tells them, hey, we'll give you $40. The crowd erupted. It was literally like 4th of July. They're jumping. Everyone's yelling. Like, they were so excited. 10 different guys to get $40. They had to split that up 10 different ways. But these guys were more excited than I've seen, people get excited over the last Super Bowl, that crazy interception at the last second. These guys were, and I just sit there, like I'm getting bummed, like literally tinglies in my skin because I was like, this is such a different way of living than I'm even understand. It took me a long time to figure out kind of how different we live here versus how they live there. And it still doesn't make 100% sense to me, but it's starting, the more times I go, the more it makes a little bit more sense. $40, 12 hours of work, and this was hard manual labor. We were stuck deep in mud. I mean, these guys were pulling out shovels, they were using bamboo, digging, like...
And these are just how did you guys recruit these people? They just fucking showed up?
The word spreads like, they don't have phones, they don't have anything,
But shit
but like
goes down.
shit spreads like wildfire. So we get stuck, and they see, the Mzungu means white man in Swahili. It really means lost traveler, but they've switched it over the years. It basically now just means the white man. So if they see a white man stuck in distress, everyone comes running. That word spread through the villages like... We had at one point we had 20 people, 25 people. A bunch of kids watching. Kids love to watch. They just stare at you.
And who's delegating? Like, okay, you guys, you, come on. You just guys let it happen. You guys just stand back and let it happen.
Aristotle says, hey, look, we're stuck. And then all of a sudden, people just, some
Show
take
up.
charge, some kind of stand back and get directed. Usually the bigger, stronger guys are the ones yelling at the smaller guys to do shit. But they're usually the ones with the shovel doing most of the work, the big, strong guys, because they know the smaller guy can't do it. So they just tell him, hey, go here, do this. I mean, we were literally digging small rivers to divert the water. So we dug a tunnel through the forest to get the water away from our truck. I mean, that's some serious manpower and work. And these guys are with buckets shoveling water. I mean, I can't believe it. There was a lot of situations like that, though, because we kept getting stuck. And the deeper and deeper we got in the forest, the less and less money we had to spend to have people do that type of work. I mean,
do you guys carry around like
oodles of cash?
You guys just have cash constantly. Cash.
Have to.
You just like when you went this time by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Here, dude, I want to get a Manhattan.
I had.
What are you looking at? I'm having a drink break real quick. Let me get. Dude, this guy, he actually was he's one of the first gues. This bartender that told
Looks like
me.
a mixologist.
Yeah. He told me I love what I do. He was in school to be a doctor. I know his dad.
Whoops. That's the conversation you come home and say, Dad, I gotta talk to you.
I want to be a
like booze.
bartender.
Remember that time you took me to a bar when I was 13? I really liked that experience.
You fucked up. You ready?
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think else I would like?
Did you like that one?
Yeah, it was good.
Cool.
I want something a little bit more with more volume.
With more volume, so you don't have to taste all the liquor.
No, I like them.
You like it?
I just want more.
More? Like more
He
juicy?
wants a picture. Yeah. Just a bucket.
Instead of, because you know that little shot had 2 shots in it, right? That little drink?
This?
Yeah, all of my drinks are doubles.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't even. I was gonna tell you to put more alcohol in this
Yeah,
one.
no, that's
Dude,
okay.
that's crazy.
Yeah, legally, that's all as much as I can pour in the state of Texas. So.
Dude, that's good.
Wow, I didn't even taste it. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Alright, let's go with, I'm just gonna get crazy. You know what? Aaron told me that you guys make a really good campirino.
Okay. Oh, you need, I can get the cachaça and we haven't gotten it yet. We're fighting with them to get it.
Fucking shit. Alright. Let's go with, what else here? What else do you think?
You wanted to do rum?
No.
No.
Whiskey.
Whiskey?
How about a Manhattan?
Manhattan? Yeah? Yeah?
Let's go with a Manhattan.
Cool. Manhattan.
You have like a dark rum drink with like pineapple juice or like coconut something.
Yeah, I'll do a tiki for you.
There we go.
Yeah, cool.
Cool.
I
Thanks,
was
man.
just telling him about, you were in, weren't you going to be a medical student?
I was, yeah.
Yeah. So how did you go from, and then when you told me,
Because I'm actually a linguist.
Arabic, right?
Yeah. Well, second language acquisition. So I study how people learn second languages.
Okay.
To study languages?
Yeah, I just study like watching people in the classrooms and how they learn languages.
Yeah.
That methodology. Yeah, that's my thing. Like writing textbooks and stuff like that.
Okay.
Teaching manuals for teachers to teach second languages.
yeah.
I got into that, and then I had to pay bills, so I got into bartending, and I ended up liking bartending way more than I liked it.
Yeah, pedagogy, right? We gotta,
Especially this style of bartending.
Yeah.
I got really hooked on it. So.
Yeah, this dude, every time I ask him, like, what is it? He's like, this bottle, right? Who showed you?
I have a mentor named Sean Saucy, but I've been bartending probably about 6-7 years.
Yeah.
And then, but this style about 4. This style is way different than anything else.
what's the style?
It's just traditional.
Okay.
Traditional bartending. Most people lost traditional bartending and they're so used to just putting vodka soda, vodka cranberry, whatever. So here we take it back to the old days,
Yeah.
1860s to 1940s style bartending. It's a lost art and we're bringing it back slowly but surely.
Yeah,
I love doing this. I love it.
Yeah. See, he's only you and like some girl that cut my hair like 3 months ago. I was like, so what? She's like, I love cutting hair. And I'm like,
Passionate about it.
dude.
Yeah, it's fun. I'll be right back in the day.
Cool. So I was just like,
That's amazing.
dude, that's what I want to like. To the point where you're just like, I can literally say, I love
There's
what
a,
I do.
it's called flow. Have you heard about this? A psychologist basically said when you're in that moment, where nothing else matters except what you're working on. It doesn't care if it's folding napkins or if it's bartending, but nothing else matters. You're in a state of flow. He's an Asian psychologist, but he goes on this whole, it's a science paper, it's really nice, but it goes on and it talks about this state of flow where you are so focused on what you're doing that you actually reach a state of euphoria. Artists get it very commonly because they're so focused on, it could just be practicing the violin, whatever it is, you just get in that state. And that's what happens when people come back and say, I love what I do, because they're in flow all the time. They're just flowing around.
Dude, I put 2 shots of fucking...
I didn't even taste it. I was going to say, hey, man, I want something a little strong.
Aiden works here, you know, you can put a couple more drops in it.
I was going to say something darker. I couldn't even taste it.
Yeah,
That's how smooth it was.
really good. Dude, and all those liquors up there, you know, all the fucking liquors, and he was telling me about, oh yeah, look, because I told him about vodka, and he shit on me because I like drinking vodka on ice. And he says that, he's like, oh, this one's cool, yeah, he said. And he brought me one, he showed me one that there's like little potatoes on it, and they brew like, and I was like, the history on a lot of shit.
Yeah,
Just some like liquor stuff.
Yeah. No, it's interesting.
Yeah. And that's why when he told me, I was like, God damn, and he's good at what he does.
Yeah.
Like he's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought that was interesting because he's only the second person that's told me I love what I do.
Yeah.
Like I fucking love what I do.
Yeah. I don't know alcohol very much. I'm like you, I drink it. I like rums, but I just like to drink it. I'll drink rum on the rocks because I don't know what else to and beer. I was looking, they have so many IPAs, I'm like, shit.
Yeah, dude. I barely started getting into IPA like 3 years ago. Got into IPAs.
Oh, I love it.
IPAs. It's all about the IPAs. That's what I really like, man. That's actually one thing I want to learn how to do, brew my own beer. I think
IPAs are hard though. If you are just
hops,
starting,
right?
because you have to add hops at weird times, and like it takes a long. I think it's a longer process, but yeah, that would be great.
Who was that? Who was that guy that fell off the bike, dude? I remember you telling me. He was just fucking hammered, dude. He was just fucking hammered. When you guys were on bikes,
that was Aristotle. Yeah.
that's still back with the you guys were getting stuck, right?
Yeah.
So you guys get unstuck. You guys pay them $40,
Yeah.
and they
that
go
was like,
crazy.
Yeah, they go nuts.
And then, because I know
And that persists for about 3 weeks. So almost the same situation. We drive a few kilometers, we get stuck, we pay some people, they get excited. The next day we get stuck, we pay some people. Literally villages that just kept showing up. And this was about a month of moving through this terrible road. We were collecting really interesting frogs, but because we weren't moving far distances, the sites were very similar. So the species we were finding, it was like, okay, we found this like yesterday. Because we've only moved 10 kilometers. That's not far at all. And then we get to a point where we're like, shit, our flight is in a week and a half and we're in the middle of the Congolese forest.
We gotta get out of
We gotta go. And our flight was leaving from Uganda. So we still have to cross the border, all this shit. So we said, we told our driver, Faustin, who at this point had already one time broke down crying. He's a 55-year-old Congolese man. He broke down crying and he peed his pants. 2 separate occasions, but he already had that happen.
Wait, first of all, why did he cry?
First one, because he got stuck it was about 2 weeks, and he was getting stuck all the time. He was the type of guy who would shift gears in the middle of a puddle to a lower gear, to a harder gear, and we're like, what are you doing? Instead of being in like gear 1 or 2 to try and, bust through it, he'd shift down to 4, like trying to power through it. We're like, everyone's yelling at him. We were not happy with this guy because he was our driver. We paid him to be a driver. If you pay someone to be a driver, you better drive.
Yeah.
Like, he was terrible. I don't know how much was item.
Daily? Oh, okay.
I don't know. That was Eli took care of that. But so everyone yelled at this guy. He eventually, one time, we had such a tough day getting stuck. We'd get stuck about 3 hours. We get unstuck. We drive a kilometer, get stuck 4 hours. Literally, very terrible. Everyone started yelling at him in like the late evening because we got stuck again. Broke down, just started crying. Then everyone felt bad, and we were like, this old man is crying because we yelled at him. But I think he was just crying because he knew he fucked up. Like internally, he's like, man, I'm fucking up so much. Like he didn't care if you were yelling at him. Then about 3 weeks go by, and we're trying to escape the forest at this point because we're like, okay, we've seen the animals here. We need to just get out. There was a situation where there was a path, but it was only big enough for a moto. Next to it was a huge ditch with mud filled in it. They have these big trucks that drive through. They're called lorries, they call them. But they carry like raw materials. They're the people stealing gold and shit like that. But they're the only thing that can drive on this road is motos and a lorry. And we're in a 4x4.
Motos?
They motorcycles. They call them motos.
Motos.
I think in French it's motos.
Okay.
So we said, Faustin, we're going to dig into the forest and create a road for you so you don't fall into this ditch. We spent 3 hours digging into the forest. We built a whole nother road for him to drive on. We say, okay, go pole pole, which is Swahili for slow. Go slowly, slowly. We say, pole 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 pole. He's like, everyone got out of the car at this point because we're like, we don't know what's going to happen. He has a whole road to go on. He floors it and goes up the side and crashes and flips the truck.
Yeah. Thanks, brother.
All right, I get a cool glass too.
That's how it's done.
Thanks, man. And I got a little umbrella too. Anyways, the guy flips the truck. Everyone's fucking. And then he sits in the truck and it's flipped over. He's on his side like this, and he's flooring it. And we're like, Faustin, turn off the truck. And he's just flooring it, thinking the truck's going to magically... I don't know what he's thinking. So everyone's pissed. We know it's going to take hours to flip this truck back over. He climbs out of the truck. I have this photo of him standing as he climbs out the passenger window. No, his pants were soaked. He pissed himself. He was so scared when he flipped the truck that a grown man peed his pants.
He's like, dude, they're going to kill me here.
I don't know what he was thinking. He peed his pants. It smelled terrible. Like, it took hours to get the truck flipped over. When we finally flipped it over, we all get in the truck. And at this point, we didn't know he peed his pants, but we were suspicious. And I said to Elon, I said, I think Faustin pissed himself. And he was like, what? And we get in the truck, and everyone was like, oh. And then we have pictures of him, like, just suffering, and he's just wet pants. And, you know, but that's how tough the roads were. A grown man who was hired as a driver, who was our driver, cried and peed himself within a month's span.
Weren't you guys? I think there was one point that I think I saw, like you guys had chicken. I don't know if it was Dr. Greenbaum that showed a picture.
Yeah.
That there's like, he's like, and you'll notice there's chickens in the back, or something like that. Or am I wrong? Like you guys would bring it, like.
We kept a live chicken because we were gonna buy them from villagers. So you buy, like, people chickens just kind of live around villages.
Yeah.
And then occasionally they just say, they pick one and they kill it and they eat it.
Yeah.
Same thing with goats. We would buy goats and they'd skin it right in front of you. They do everything. But we bought a live chicken and we kept it in our truck for a while. Because we kept getting stuck, so we didn't actually get a chance to, because it takes a little while to depuck, take the feathers out and everything.
And who's in charge of cooking that?
You hire someone, usually a mama.
Just like, go ahead and cook that.
We'll say, hey, we'll pay you a little money if you cook this. And they'll debone it, they do everything, cook it.
And so, you're collecting.
Yeah.
What's the process of, you show up to a village, what'd you get?
I forget what he called it, but it's rum and pineapple juice, and I think there's some coconut milk in there. That's delicious.
Yeah, everything's good. This place is Manhattan. That's on tap.
That's on tap.
That's on tap. Good, man.
That's smooth.
Oh, that's good, man.
Is it just, it's not straight alcohol with the, what is that, a lemon wedge in there?
Yeah, no, orange, I think. I think it's an orange. What is it in Manhattan?
That's good though, man.
Rye whiskey, house sweet vermouth.
Yeah. So vermouth.
Whatever that is. So
It must be whatever that is.
Yeah, whatever that fucking is. Alright.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys go in there.
Yeah.
And do you guys ask for permission, like when there's like villagers, or you guys just start fucking collecting?
No, you have to sit down with the chief of each
Every
village.
time.
Every village.
And
Because
is there a payoff, or did they ask, or is it just kind of you guys always hook them up with some cash, or where does that go with?
we tell them that we're going to pay them some money.
Explain this shit to them. First of all,
We have the interpreter. Chifandera is the leader. So Aristote's kind of the negotiator, and then we have a guy named Chifandera who's our kind of leader of the Congolese, and he's the one that he's older. He looks like they call you a mzee, which means old respected man in Swahili. So he's our mzee that basically talks to the chief, who's the other mzee, and they just kind of say, hey, look, they get really animated. Congolese, apparently,
like the Russians.
they argue
yelling at each
and they
other?
yell at each other. But apparently that's culture. That's how it's supposed to go. Because they were all just yelling, and Chiffendale one day lead to me, and he was like, you know why they're yelling? And I was like, no, I feel like they're about to fight. And he was like, no, that's like if you don't engage in an argument, then it's actually kind of not culture. It's not traditional, and you can be kind of ostracized for not engaging. Yeah, and not engaging in that, because that's like, I guess, how they negotiate and how they talk about things, is you have to yell, and whoever makes the best point, everyone just sits around and shakes their head at the same time. You'll see the whole village like, and it's usually the guy who's yelling the loudest and like you moving his hands more. But yeah, we talk to every chief, we sit down, they give you chairs, and you kind of like explain, hey, look, this is what we're doing. We'll pay you for any animals you bring to us. If you like them, we'll pay you money. So people just take off running at that point. You see kids like just start running into
that's
the
a
forest.
branch.
Yeah, no, they'll bring you anything.
What's the weirdest shit
Well, they bring you dead snakes all the time.
Really?
Just heads too.
It's just like,
they'll bring you a head of a snake, and we're like, "Where's the rest of the snake? We need the entire body." And they're like,
about that.
you know, like, because they kill everything like right when they see it. So you get a lot of dead stuff. But they find interesting things because they know the forest so well.
The cool shit is when I saw that picture of that pangolin.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that looks like prehistoric.
Yeah.
And I could imagine Dr. would be like, yeah, that's not a reptile.
Yeah.
Or actually, it's completely out
Those things
there.
are highly endangered. The Chinese use them as medicine. So they're
Have you seen how they walk?
oh,
They look,
it's just claws that
and
are
then they
curled.
have like,
yeah.
they don't. I was like, it almost seems like they can't walk. Do they live
Hey.
underground?
No, there's a tree pangolin. There's also some that live on the ground. There's terrestrial.
Fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah, we almost had a chance to see one in Uganda. Someone was keeping it for a Chinese guy that was coming to buy it, and they were keeping it for him. But it was way out of the way, so we couldn't go see it. They keeping it in some cage.
That's the other thing I tell people. Like, we don't not if we, but if no one regulates this shit, and if there's no hunters coming in and actually hiring people to try to like keep these poachers out or whatever, the Chinese are gonna come in.
They'll eat it.
And wipe everything out. Wipe every single thing out.
They'll eat everything, and that's the Ugandans. Actually, Ugandans and Congolese have jokes about Chinese because they're actually there.
Oh,
Some places
say that
deep in the forest, they thought I was Chinese. I'm white and I have freckles and red hair. They'd
Far
say
from
chinois, chinois, and I'm like, but that's the only light-skinned person they've ever seen is a Chinese person. Because the Chinese will go in to build the roads so they can get better access to the gold and resources, so they can basically export it easier and steal it easier, essentially. And in the meantime, they take pangolins and other rare animals because they're traditional medicine.
it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, they would have like chinois. I'm like, Chinese? Like, my eyes squinty right now? Like, seriously, they would.
Just like,
I'm like, that it just happened, but like you're in the middle of the Congolese forest, and I guess that's all they see.
and you guys even, and I heard a podcast about this actually, about them talking about the pygmies,
Yeah,
about how they treat them like second-class citizens,
dirt. Yeah,
and they like, families are like given, like they make them work like 14 hours and literally give them like 3 bananas, and it's fucking crazy.
yeah. We saw a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sit on the outskirts of town because they're not allowed in. So they sit like not town. It's like a trading center or a village.
They just don't let them like they just.
There's not one guy there bouncing them, but it's like the
He's like,
they see the pygmy IDs. Like you're 4'5". You're 4'5" and you're an adult. You know. No, they just kind of stand on the edge and just kind of wait for people to either give them things or something.
and where did they originate? So they're from, okay, like why are they so short? Like what is it that was
I think
it?
it's a
just an
forest
adaptation.
thing. Yeah, it's an
It's
adaptation
an
of
adaptation,
forest.
right? So they're coming deep from the forest. Is that where they originate from? Like really, really deep from the forest. So obviously there's so much. You got to be smaller. Smaller you can get around better,
Yeah.
right?
There's also forest elephants that are smaller than
Oh,
the
yeah,
traditional
yeah, yeah.
African
Yeah,
elephant.
yeah, yeah.
So I think it's an adaptation of forest. There's some cool genetic studies that they kind of look back and they say kind of this is what our DNA has originated from, is these forest-dwelling people in Africa. And it's hypothesized that it's pygmies an offshoot of that. They're not the direct descendants, but they're on the lineage, on the trail to it, and they're still around today. Yeah, we ran into a few. In the early 1900s, there's a really famous pygmy that was taken from Congo.
Oh, New York, right?
And now it was in the Bronx Zoo on display. This is a human being put on display in a cage, basically, and they created like a fake village habitat for him to kind of live in. He's got a famous name. I think he ended up committing suicide. But yeah, I mean,
they weren't even classified as human. They were just like some other species, some other primate species.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they put them down as.
They were the next step up from the monkey. Exactly.
That's fucking crazy. Like you really live in the Congo. So now you're even below the people that live in the.
Right.
Like, can you just
get lower. You're all thinking get lower.
Like, just when you think, like, you know, kind of like, you know, when you're like, oh, I was born in the United States and I'm come from a poor family or whatever, so I'm behind the line. No, it can get worse, man. It can get, and even in the worst place, one of the worst places, Democratic Republic of the Congo,
right.
It can get worse.
Yeah.
You can be a pygmy.
Yeah.
And then even the...
And they're like nice people, I mean, I mean, they weren't doing anything wrong. It's not like they were like terrible, you know, soldiers or attackers. It's just that they're small and they're a little bit more primitive in kind of their traditions. They dance around fires and they wear makeup and less clothes sometimes, especially if you find one a village deeper in the forest. So I think
who communicated with them? What do they speak?
They speak a pygmy language. I think it's a variation of Botswana, which is one of the pygmy kind of lineages. There's two. There's Botswana and there's another one. But that's all kind of, the languages all kind of have been offshoots of that type of initiative.
Did you get to come up in one of the villages or not?
No. We were in like the place where we saw pygmies, we were in a village in Congo near Bunia, and it was actually kind of a trading center from a place where they mine gold.
Okay.
So they said over that ridge we mine gold over there, but here's where we'd stay, and that's where we saw pygmies, and we actually saw a few fully face painted and mostly naked.
That's fucking crazy. Yeah. Just the fact that those dudes are treated like second-class citizens is fucking crazy.
Yeah, they're treated pretty poorly. I mean, we didn't see it happening, but they definitely didn't come into the village. They were standing on the edge, just kind of like, you know, they look really sad. You know, you feel bad. We gave them food.
Did you remember when you were telling me, like, do you just, when you came to the United States, you're just like, damn, man, how good we have it?
Oh, man.
Do you think you had, like, a perspective change? Oh, yeah. Or you were just kind of like I remember you
It makes you appreciate, because everything, I mean, we're sitting here drinking super awesome drinks by a guy who loves his job and is a bartender. I mean,
second person, by the way.
Yeah,
that's ever told me that.
You just don't get that type of experience in, I think, most countries in the world. So it's really rare. We just live such a comfortable life. Like, comfortable.
Dude, even us as
I
students.
drove here. I was in my car. Like, I had the AC on. Like, I was listening to NPR or something like that. So, like, the comfort level is just different. There, it's like, you gotta work for everything. Even as a researcher, you still have to work for a lot of things while you're there.
Isn't Chifendera? Isn't one of the... Is he technically a researcher? Didn't you say you got like
he has a PhD.
An honorary PhD?
I think because there's so few people that actually care about science in those countries, people are willing, and you're facilitating research there, because none of it would happen if you don't have someone like a Chifendera or Matthias in Uganda. Why? Because there's permits and there's little, like how we interact, right? Is slightly different than how a Ugandan would interact with another Ugandan. How Matthias or Chifendera interact, the collaborators interact with the Mzungu, the white man, is different than how they interact with the other Ugandans. When it's the other Ugandans, they're like, hey, what's up? You know, but with me, it's a little bit more professional. It's a little bit different, and that's because of where I come from. You know what I'm there to do. There's just, it's a professional relationship. But with other Ugandans, even if they are both professionals, they'll interact at a different level because they come from the same village. They come from the same side of the country. There's these type of bonds that we cannot even begin to even infiltrate or even know about. Matthias was great because we would go to a place. The Uganda Wildlife Authority is responsible for all wildlife in Uganda. Big deal. It's like the Forestry Association in the U.S., or Fish and Wildlife. Big deal. he would go in there and talk to the head people like they're the best buds, shaking hands, like talking about their kids, everything. Like a really fun interaction. And I'm like, how'd you know that guy? He goes, oh, he lived in my village. He's from my village. I'm like, what? And there was what was really cool about him is he would always say everyone was family. Yeah. So I was his Mzungu son, his white son. He would tell everyone, hey, he would introduce me. This is my Mzungu son, Danny. And everyone would laugh because they'd be like, oh, how'd you produce the white man? And Matthias is kind of small. He said, look at my big, strong Mzungu son. You know? And everyone would laugh and be like, yeah, that's right. I produced him 20 plus years ago. But And I thought it was funny for a while, and I was kind of like, I started asking him a little bit more about it, because he talks to everyone like they're his cousin, or his, you know, if so they're older, they're the Mazay, even though he's a Ph.D., 50 years old. He said that allows...
Does he speak English?
Yeah, very good English.
Oh, okay.
He speaks Luganda. This is in Uganda.
How did he learn English? Just...
He's trained by British. They're British-trained professors come from England, and they...
That's how he learned.
Yeah. And
Does he have a British accent?
No, he doesn't. But he drinks tea all the time.
Really?
In the top of mountains, we would drink tea. Tea. Loves tea. Tea time. Before we go sampling to catch frogs, we drink tea.
And a tea?
After we get back, we drink
Pretty good tea or nah?
Uganda tea is tea bags. It's
right.
nothing like... It's nothing
Nestle
super
tea with
fancy.
a Nestle?
No, they have their own Uganda brand.
What
what he told me was that, okay, so everyone is your brother, sister, father, mother. And what it is it allows you to feel like a connection and a level of respect. So if you're the son of the guy who's not really your father, you'll treat him like your father, so you won't act like a retard or like some crazy person in front of him. No, seriously. And he was like, this is a way to because the parents are always picking bananas, or they're digging a ditch, or they're working on their shack. This is a way for kids when they're running around to not be so rambunctious and treat other people like terrible people because they're strangers or something. He goes, it makes you feel a little. In U.S. it's different.
Yeah.
Really different. You see a stranger, you're not supposed to talk to him. There, it's like you see a stranger and he's older than you. He's your father, and you should treat him as such.
It seems like we look
It's crazy.
like you were talking about the blue zones, about how like
Yeah.
like here in the United States, we treat old people like they're like we
They're
just
on their
kinda
way out.
Yeah.
They're on their way
Throw
out.
away. We're just like we really don't need you. We really don't. You know what I mean?
We
And-
put them in homes.
Yeah.
There was a 90-year-old man who would sit on this bench every day just carving, and he was producing a tool for the village every day. He was 90. He came over when we went to Matthias' home village. It was a very, very interesting experience. And we went to his home village. Matthias.
So Matthias again, he's the interpreter, right?
He's a scientist in Uganda.
Okay.
Who likes reptiles and amphibians. That's his specialty. So he works with us as our collaborator. At times he serves as an interpreter. Sometimes he's a driver. Sometimes he's just the entertainer because he's just a good guy, like all around. And this 90-year-old man who's just like, I showed him the utmost respect. I mean, anyone else would look at the guy and be like, okay, this guy's about
fuck
to
this guy.
keel over.
Yeah.
You know, why is he even out here working? Why is he outside? Is what people would think in the U.S. That's what he wanted to do. And the guys treated him like he was the freaking the Mazay, you know. It was amazing. I was just sitting there going, like, it's so different in the U.S.
Yeah, we kind of put him as like, well, you're on your way out, buddy.
Yeah.
So,
You better save your money properly because no one's helping you, you know.
Yeah, that fucking sucks. That really does blow. And just the experience that you get from that. Some 90-year-old guy, imagine what he knows, imagine what he's seen, imagine the way
He actually just gossiped. He just you think he'd come down and tell you some wisdom? He actually just gossiped with Matthias. But Matthias listened to his gossip and thought it was very interesting. He gave him that social respect. But he just talked about He's like, do you hear what happened to so and so? Because I was like, what did he say? He goes, he's just telling me about these two couples are having problems. Even in a village in Uganda, they have a couple issues, marital issues. But he still treated him with this respect, and we just don't have that here, which is, I think, unfortunate.
Yeah, it is crazy. Because you'll learn a lot. You'll learn a shit.
People don't have the time though. They're like, ooh, let's go do something.
That one person, dude, and I'm gonna get to talk to him hopefully by the end. I'm guesstimating by like the end of September, maybe. Dr. Ben Joseph, dude.
Yeah, you told me about.
He is a fucking maniac, dude.
Yeah.
Like, he will drop some knowledge on you, and you're just like, he just has this capability of like absorbing knowledge.
Yeah.
I think he's 67 now.
Yeah.
And I told him, I go, when you're 70, I'm gonna stop listening to you because you're just too fucking old. So he's like, yeah,
Your tipping point.
Yeah, because I'm not gonna believe you anymore.
Yeah.
You're gonna make shit up.
It's delusional.
But the ability to, dude, he knows he's died and come back. Like, he's like literally.
like in an ocean where they kill you.
No,
and
like
they
he died,
resuscitate you?
he died, and I want to ask him about that. So he died. Long story short, he died because he's Jewish originally. Died, went up to quote unquote heaven.
Yeah.
Then he comes back and he says he runs into his uncle. And his uncle's like, oh, let me introduce you to somebody like Jesus. And he's like, well, we're Jewish. He's like, no, well, actually, it turns out that what's called that we're kind of wrong or whatever.
Yeah.
So then he says that he awoke, and this is from like another second person telling me what he had told him.
Yeah.
He wakes up like in the morning, in those zipper bags or whatever. So supposedly that's what happened. So I'm just like,
It's like that's some Hercules story right there.
Yeah,
It's a good myth. I like
and then
that.
he's been a scuba diver. He's lived in Israel, like just crazy shit, dude.
That's life experience.
Dude, psychedelic experience like a motherfucker, too. Like he said one time he was holding onto a tree because he was doing mushrooms.
Yeah.
And he says he felt like he was flying away, so he held on for like 3 hours.
His arms are stiff. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Those are people you want to interact with because
And then,
you never know what they're gonna say.
dude, I can't wait for him to break down his theory or his hypothesis about Jesus being a hybrid alien. Dude. Last time I had breakfast with him, that's what and I'm just like,
You're like trying to eat your sausage. Like what the hell?
Yeah, dude. But believe it or not, because he knows the Old Testament and the New Testament, like,
Like you read them,
dude, he knows, and he'll cite you things, and he'll be like, and this and this and this and this and this.
Yeah,
He's like, what does that mean to you? And I'm just like,
I haven't thought about it yet.
yeah, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
So, but again, he's got fucking how many years on me? You know what I mean? So he's had the chance to do all this shit.
Yeah, but I don't think it's just years, because there are some people who are old and don't want to tell you stories, and don't want to impart wisdom, or they don't know the best way to do so. That guy is probably more of an effective communicator, and on top of it, no thank you. He's on top of it. He's absorbed an insane amount of knowledge over the time. Because I've definitely interacted with older people that want to kind of keep the information to themselves.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Dude, I've had nothing. Really? I've had people that always want to talk. It's like you can't shut them the fuck
Yeah,
up.
they want to talk, but what is the content? They'll talk to you, but they're talking about things that aren't like aren't based on years of experience. I could get the same information from old Bob on the corner, but so I think those are the people that have learned a way of effectively communicating it and using that knowledge. My dad is one of those people that can take a story, like a regular experience that happens to him, and over time he instills meaning into the story. The more iterations that it happens, it becomes this freaking, like you gotta sit down for 3 hours.
Is it a Dr. Khan thing?
It's a Dr. Khan thing to the utmost, because it's like okay, look, I went to the bathroom yesterday and I ran into this person in there and he told me this, and that's the story. Like that's the facts of the story. It's a 3-hour story later that has meaning about how when he met this guy, he first met him. He was reading this book, and this book had this connection, and it just goes, and it connects to all these different things, and all of a sudden you're learning about World War II, and literally, and his experience with it, and his grandfather fought in World War II, and you're sitting there just enraptured, and it takes a simple, basic bathroom story and turns it into this history lesson on something very interesting that you're like, wow, I've never even thought about it. Same with that guy, I'm sure. Because there's some people that would just give you, oh yeah, I went to the bathroom and ran into something. But there's other people that over time they take that story and they infuse meaning into it and other interesting kind of aspects to it, so that you're not just hearing the bathroom story. You're hearing like about World War II,
multiple levels.
Oh my
of
God.
just fucking
insane. And Khan's one of those people that can do it very
dude.
well.
He's fucking.
His
Dude,
connections are just
tell me you were not like when you were telling me about how inspired you were when he fucking told you about the whole when he went to that they wanted to not let him get those classes or whatever.
university. Yeah,
I'm like, what the fuck? Dude,
he was 18 or 19 when he did that. He was a young dude, and he went straight to the dean and was like, "No, I want to take these classes because this is my education. I'm a customer. I can go to another university. Give me what I want because I'm paying for it, or tell me to leave because I'm going to go somewhere else."
to me, it's just like, to me, it was a fucking privilege. So like, that's
Sit
why
in there.
I don't know if some people were annoyed, but sometimes like there was one.
I can tell you, people get annoyed.
When I asked him questions, because dude, I just wanted to hear him talk.
Yeah.
I just really wanted.
Well, and it's because he doesn't just give you like, "Hey, I went to the bathroom and saw Joe Blow."
Yeah.
It's this huge, very elaborate, built-up story that has at the foundation is he went to the bathroom, but it actually has these really deep, interesting connections. Where did that come from? And
I think that's crazy, and I even tell this when the students that I teach, TA and do, I tell them, I go, when you do a presentation, your goal is to be a TED Talk. I go, your goal.
that's the ultimate. Yeah.
I go, I'm not saying. I go, I would love for you guys to come and be a TED Talk, but I go, and I always ask them, I go, who hasn't seen a TED Talk? I go, that's your homework tonight. Watch a fucking TED Talk.
Yeah.
I go, you need to be TED Talk level. Like for them to invite him to be like, you want to do a TED Talk?
Yeah. He's on that level. What the fuck? He's on that level. And he's at UTEP.
Dude, like, if somebody told me, I'll be like, what? I go, dude, I fucking freak probably. If someone told me, hey, you want to do a TED Talk? I'm like, but what?
No, the scary thing is the TED people will say anything you want. That's scary, because then you gotta be like, oh shit, I gotta entertain some people.
Yeah, he would destroy, dude. And what was it, like 8 of us or 6 of us in that class?
There was 7 or something. Guy dropped out early, but there was maybe 7.
Dude, I'm just like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, I learned so much from him.
Yeah.
So much from him just fucking talking. Dude.
Yeah. I told him that in my experience in higher education, beyond undergraduate, I've got a master's degree. I've spent 2 years in Ph.D. courses. I told him this was the first course that I've ever taken where I felt like I was in higher education. Because everyone talks about it. You know that movie with Robin Williams and Dead Poets Society? Have you ever seen that?
Oh, yeah. I remember little clips.
He gets on like the desk.
Cave.
Yeah.
Be in the cave.
But he takes the education beyond what the state tells you should teach them.
Right.
He takes it to another level, and you can tell that he cares. Khan cared a lot about teaching us.
Dude,
that's just...
he was actually, like, I remember when I took him as an undergraduate. Like, I remember I was like, oh, I want to, and this is now, like, I appreciate that because, like, I told him as an undergrad, I wrote and it's funny because I actually wrote a paper on infanticide in lions.
Right, yeah.
And I asked him, I was like, can you just go over it whenever you have a chance? Like, I just want to know what I did wrong.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to know. Like,
Yeah. Did he?
Yeah.
He did.
He's like, next week, Wednesday, come in around 2. I walk in there, and he's like, I actually wanted to talk to you about this paper. And he turns around and he's like, I did some research and stuff like that. He's like, did you ever, has anyone ever told you that you might be a little dyslexic? And I started laughing.
He pulled that out of your first couple sentences.
Yeah, dude. And I started laughing, and he's like, I don't mean to be. And then, Dr. Khan.
Yeah, he's
being
very
super cool.
nice.
Like,
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I know I am. And he's like, because I could tell you're writing. And he's like, and I looked it up, and I'm just like, which other fucking professor would be like, oh, let me read about like maybe something that I'm thinking that this individual has.
Yeah.
what the fuck?
He's invested. He's
Yeah.
invested.
And then we just started talking about it, and he was telling me about it, and I was like, yeah, I just dealt with it. I just deal with it. Like, there's really, what am I supposed to do?
So when he pulled it out of your writing that you probably have some level of dyslexia.
He's
then
like,
he looked into it to
He's like,
figure
it's
out.
a mild dyslexia. I was like, yeah, I do. I go, sometimes I'll misspell like one word,
Yeah.
and it's straight down the paper.
Right.
Dude, but now that I'm writing my blog,
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
gotten a lot better at catching it.
Yeah.
Because I look at it every day, and I'm like, oh shit, and I switch it, But I've already learned how to like overcome that. I just have to look at it over and over
Figuring
and over
it
and over
out,
again.
yeah.
That's it. But
Yeah.
no one ever told me that. Like, I'm sure they're just like, wow, you fucked up.
Yeah, I just said, oh, this guy can't spell.
Yeah,
This guy.
like, right here. But he was the first one that actually told me that.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I was just like, damn, that's fucking badass.
Right, yeah. You
Because
don't
who's
get-
gonna tell you that?
You don't get that from a professor. It's very rare. I've seen a lot of professors. I've sat in a lot of classrooms, and I can tell you, he is unique. I mean, even one of the coolest bosses I ever had was a guy who got his Ph.D. at Kansas, like our boss, which is a top-level institution for anything on systematics or evolution. And he was working on Hymenoptera, which are wasps. And he studied them in Brazil. So he did a lot of trips to Brazil catching wasps in the forest. He told me
Next
some-
year I want to go to
he
Brazil.
told me some badass stories about certain wasps that only go for your eyes, and like and what was so cool about his dissertation is that he didn't just care about the way the wasp looked, like the abdomen's longer than the forelimbs, like morphology, basic stuff like that. He didn't just care about that. He cared about how the nest structure was. So for him, how they make their combs and how they build, because you know how wasps build nests, and they're not necessarily like honeybees where they have a queen, but they contribute to nest building. He said, that is what is going to tell me what species is different from this one, because the minor differences in the morphology of the nest structure, in the eggs and how they do the plant is going to tell me what species are which. So he included that, which means that he had to get those nests from the tops of trees. So he said that to get some of these species, you had to chop down a tree because they only live in the canopy. And he said this one in particular goes for your eyeballs. So he said that he had some Brazilians chopping down a tree. And he's wearing glasses. And he's a big nerd. Like, this is not like some dude that you can see climbing a mountain. You wouldn't ever suggest, okay, this guy's an explorer. You'd be like, that's a scientist that should be behind a microscope. This man's in Brazil in the middle of the forest, hiring people to chop down a tree to get eyeball stinging wasps so he can get their nest. And coolest guy. He wrote an essay called "Why I Teach Undergraduate Classes," and he takes the opposite viewpoint of what most people think, which is undergrads, they suck. And he goes on this huge, very eloquent, awesome essay about how every undergraduate student has that one professor that inspired them. And he goes, I want to be that professor. I don't care if my classroom has 500 people or 10. He goes, I want to be the guy that gave you that one tidbit of information that somehow sparked something in your brain that then, from now on, you will always remember it and you will think back. Maybe you won't remember my name, but you'll remember the class and the situation when it happened. And I remember reading that going, that is cool. And then I met Colin later and I was like, that's the Colin.
So who's better?
I never had a class with him. The guy was my boss at this guy gets this guy's super interesting, super cool, insanely smart. Harvard, KU, big institution, like, straight from undergrad to PhD, like rock star guy. Went to Ohio State University.
Because there's two different.
Yeah.
Dude,
You gotta
try
say
saying
the.
that to. Ooh, don't you dare.
Went
Don't you
there,
dare.
professor for 10 years. So he's tenured. Quits, gets a job as a director at this natural resources, the nature reserve, Powder Mill Nature Reserve in Pennsylvania, where I worked. I spent a summer internship, and once I started interacting with the guy, it was like, I gotta be in his office. Like, my job was to catch turtles in their ponds and snakes. I would show up to his office just to be like, so, how's it going? His name's John. I'm like, John, how's it going? He'd pull out the globe. You know how Khan like has like the interaction. This guy would pull out the globe. He's an old school. So, but he'd pull out a globe and like, oh, he'd spin it. And like, okay, here it was in Brazil. You see right here. And he goes, this is the forest that creeps up through. Just insane. And I'm sitting in the office going, oh my god, this is like, that's the guy I want to be. But those guys are super smart. Though. I mean, and I know that hearing their backstories, I know they're not like. They came from intelligence. They're like the seed of it. Like Khan at 19 telling his dean of a big University of California school, telling him that, hey, I want my education this way. That's high level stuff.
Yeah, it is.
John, the guy who I worked with, went to Harvard for his undergrad. On a whim, decided to go to KU to work with this Hymenoptera guy, and he only worked on Hymenoptera because he really enjoyed the guy that was his boss. I went to his house one day. There was no bees anywhere, no wasp on his wall. I was thinking, man, this is a pretty big nerd. Like, the guy really likes his science. He was such a wealth of information that had nothing to do with bees that you're just like, wow.
Yeah.
I one time, after I finished working there, I found his CV online. He was so rock star status. So rock star status that you know how some people put top 5 publications? He did top 5 grants. That means he had more grants. His top 5 grants, each one was over $200,000. National Geographic, NSF. Literally all the big names. He just had like 300,000, 250, 190. I was just like, and it was like, it said something like major grants, top 5. It was something like that where you're just like, we have more than that?
It's so much that I'm just going to give you the top 5. It's so much.
And even that, his CV was 2 pages long. My CV now, I'm cramming. I'm like, I cram in like shit that I didn't even really like contribute much to, but I was there. Like, I attended this conference. I saw some people. You know, he didn't care because he was really at that high level shit where it was like, I'm gonna only put my 5 top publications, my 5 top grants, and a little bit about my job background. 2 pages long. The thing was better than anything I've ever seen. I mean,
you're like, shit.
And he was telling me one time, it blew my mind. He told me that because to work in all these third world countries, you end up in situations where you have to pay bribes.
So this guy's wasp.
This guy's a wasp guy. He had ideas that just transcended wasp. He was a wasp. No, he wasn't just a wasp guy. He was a wasp systemitist,
And
which
I
means
barely Googled what. I don't know why, dude. But I was like, what do wasps eat? So
no, seriously,
dude.
that's a good question, actually.
And
They eat
me
other
being a
insects,
biologist, I'd be like, maybe I should know that.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, I don't know why I was hearing a podcast, and I was like, wasps don't make their own honey. I don't know why, dude.
No, seriously.
And like, you know what, Aiden? Let's go ahead and Google that before you fucking do something dumb. So they eat other, what's it called?
Insects and
Yeah,
wasps.
they're predators,
Yeah.
basically.
Alright, good, I knew that one.
Dude, I was just like,
He told me one time he wrote a grant, and in the reviews of his grant, he got the grant. He was awarded the grant. In the reviews in the grant, someone said, because you run into these situations in third world countries where you have to pay bribes, you're forced to.
man, what are you gonna do?
So in his budget, he wrote a line, basically a segment of his budget saying, in more or less words, I have to pay people bribes. But he wrote it so eloquently that the reviewer said, if a guy can write in his grant, without me knowing it on first glance, that he basically needs to pay X number of dollars for bribes, we need to give him the grant. And this was like 300, big NSF grant, like huge deal. He snuck in a bribe line about how I forget exactly his wording, but it was so smart, and I was just like, I would have never thought of that. Like, and he was just like, yeah, so I saw the review, and it said, if this guy can sneak in a line about paying bribes, we should give him the money. But he's just that higher level of thinking was just like...
And this was your master's?
He was, so I finished my master's and I was working at a nature reserve for a summer. I had an internship before I came here.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
it's a turtle one, right?
Yeah,
you were
turtle
telling me? Okay. And that was that guy. And this dude, wow.
He was just, he quit. He's now the manager of the nature reserve. is just a director. He just drives around on his go-kart and tells people where to chop down, because it's mostly a forestry type thing. They do some animal work, but it's mostly forestry. He has no problem transitioning. Now he's a master in ecologist and GIS. He's like, oh yeah, we're making these new maps, and like, for him it was no big deal. It's just like, oh, now I tell people where to chop down trees, and we're doing this really nice study on this and that. I'm like, how the hell do you go from 10 years as a professor studying wasps to just now you're a forestry, big shot? For him, no problem. Smooth transition.
It almost seems like, and I was talking to that this past weekend, man, when I went to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I was talking to some doctor. He just had a stroke a while ago. So now I guess he has another vision now, and he's going off for a whole year with no pay.
Yeah.
Zero pay.
Yeah.
So you can already imagine the bills that he has as a doctor.
Oh yeah.
Right? He's going out to Dallas for a year because he wants to open up a business, and he wants to go get trained because there's a new level of so let's say you screw up your shoulder, and he's gonna. So what they're doing now is that there's a training what they do. They inject stem cells into that spot, so you regenerate that. So he's gonna go out for a year, learn how to do that, and then kind of come back, and he wants to offer it and start to do it. The kicker though, insurance doesn't pay for it.
He's just doing it.
Yeah, the insurance doesn't, like, let's say he comes, he's gonna go get trained for a year.
Yeah.
Come here, open up a practice, take out more loans.
So if I wanted to do it, my insurance won't pay for it. Alright, too
It
new.
won't cover it. Well, and he was telling me about that. He's just, it makes sense that the insurance doesn't cover it because, think about it. Why would the insurance want to pay for something that's a cure? Like pharmacy, you know what I mean? It's gonna fix
It's a
it.
deep problem.
Yeah, I'd rather cut you open, charge you $50,000 to fix your shoulder, and then hook you on pain meds. That's gonna be 3-4 years down the line. You know what I mean? And
More money for insurance.
and me and him were talking about that, and I really wanted to. I was talking about that. I was like, and I was almost not gonna go to practice. I was like, dude, since my upcoming trip, I was like, I don't want to fuck myself up, and then I can't walk.
Yeah.
You know? Because dude, it's happened a bunch of times.
Oh yeah.
Last summer I broke my toe and just bad.
Yeah.
But luckily, for some reason, I was just kind of like, just go. And I was like, so I went, dude, and I was just like, dude, you gotta give me like another month and I'll be ready for my whole big ass setup.
Yeah.
And we can fucking talk about it. Yeah. Because he's like that doctor that you always wanted. You know, there's shitty ass doctors.
They'll tell you the real deal.
Yeah.
They won't beat around the bush.
They'll
tell you.
It's almost like he's already at that point. He's like, I don't give a fuck. What are you gonna do to me?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you gonna do to me? Like, I almost died. You really think you're gonna scare me? Right. And I was just like, shit. And he was even telling me that there was a point that he was in Sierra, and he says that he was just laying in bed, and he was like, when my wife left, everybody goes home. He says, at that point, I would have given anything just to be able to get up and walk out of here. Just because I was just fucking, I was like, shit, man. And you know what the funny part is? The reason he got the stroke was because of jiu-jitsu. And he's back there. And I was like, you're a fucking soldier. I fucking love you. Dude, you're right back here.
Raul, the gold miner, the gold smuggler in Congo in 2014 was kidnapped. He was back the next year. Smuggling more gold. I'm done. I told him, I was like, why? He was kidnapped for 3 weeks. He told me he had to drink his own urine. He told me this terrible story of how he escaped.
Supposedly urine is only like 5%. But still,
it's just wetness. It's just salty, gross. I'm like, and you're back? And he was like, yeah. I was like, you're fucking nuts. People are dedicated, man. When they have that one moment, once that thing happens, that type of passion, people, they don't care. He also had a mentality that was like, the way he explained it to me was awesome. He said, there's a point in your life where you either got to turn left or turn right. He goes, I made the decision. I said, that's an awesome way, because, we think about all this shit, we're like, maybe I'll turn left, maybe I'll kind of bend around the corner, I'll do this. No, he was like, there's a decision. I was like, I'm going left or I'm going right. There's no other ways about it.
That's fucking crazy.
People
I've
get
been so out.
people get right back on the horse.
And those are the kind of people you want around you.
It's true.
Right? Why do you want somebody that, oh, maybe you shouldn't do that, or maybe fucking. You want those people to get your ass back on that horse.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And those are the fucking people you want around you.
Now, when he told me that, I was just like, okay, man, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing.
All of a sudden, you're collecting doesn't mean shit.
Nothing and shit. I was like, man, I'm just a little tiny nothing. Like, I told him, I was like, people think I'm crazy for going to another country and collecting snakes and potentially venomous snakes. But no, you're fucking crazy. Like,
Hell yeah.
you're crazy. Same thing with the doctor. I mean, the dude almost died from fighting jiu-jitsu. Now he's back fighting jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. And he's had a heart operation. He's had a heart operation, had a stroke, and apparently his heart has a
Palpitation
hole or something like that. And you know what he does? The first thing he comes in, he's like, "Hey, Aiden, let's roll." And I'm just like,
I don't even stretch.
I'm like, this motherfucker. And I'm like, you don't even have. You're an anesthesiologist, dude.
You know what's going on.
You don't even have to, dude. Dude, I'm serious, dude. That dude is fucking. I was like, dude, I'm so glad you're here and I talked to you.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I was just like, God damn. And even since he's like, it takes fucking balls. What I'm about to do. Is that because I have bills? And I could imagine the bills that he has.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he has a nice house, mortgage,
Yeah. And I was just like,
car
God.
bills. I'm sure he has a nice car.
But I think he's gonna be successful, man. He's gonna do it. Apparently, also on the grapevines, I heard that for a while he owned a porn store. I don't even know. Again, I don't even know if this is. Again, I don't know if it's 100% legit.
But you got more respect for that
Yeah,
guy.
dude.
From porn to medicine.
Yeah, dude. So that's what he was telling me about that shit, and I was just like, holy shit, dude.
You know who graduated? Who's a UTEP grad? Mia Khalifa.
Mia Khalifa.
What's that name ring any bells? She's like the most famous porn star in the world right now. Literally. She has if you type her name in, or type in UTEP and look in the side on Google, it says alumni.
See, that's how I know I'm not a.
Just type it, because I signed into my UTEP email. And one day I look on the side, it was notable alumni. Keep going down. Oh, it doesn't show it here.
UTEP, notable.
But it said it showed notable alumni. Yeah, there's one. Yeah, it's the first one. Dude, I was like, wait a second, what? She only graduated 2 years ago with an art degree.
Well, that's what you get with an art degree.
I was like, wait, UTEP?
It's the best. It's the best we got, dude.
That's the best we got. That's the #1 alumni on the internet.
Well, I could see
For
why.
I mean, two big reasons.
Two huge reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, I couldn't believe it.
That's fucking awesome, dude. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Shit.
Isn't that hilarious?
Yeah.
I was at the UTEP library and I was
She art degree?
art degree, I think that's what it said.
Art degree and you go to being.
Now she's in porn.
I always wonder how just
What's that transition?
Yeah, dude. How the fuck do you go from that art degree? No, I'm just gonna get fucking.
I think she got breast, I
Uh,
think she got
probably.
fake boobs, and then was like, yeah, I think I'm better.
I'm better at this.
She probably makes a lot of money.
Yeah, dude, that's fucking crazy,
funny?
dude. Imagine.
I was cracking.
Damn, that's fucking crazy.
UTEP.
Damn, dude.
I want a shirt that says UTEP alumni with her
Right.
big shirt.
One of these
her with these
pictures, just
yeah,
this one.
yeah,
This one, boom.
UTEP
And
alumni.
then UTEP right there.
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
back.
and say a big miners pick or something.
Yeah, there you go. That'd be good, dude. That's fucking crazy. Isn't that funny? Especially, and I've also even, that apparently, now porn is so accessible to, younger kids,
Oh, yeah.
that now they expect, that much more, from girls. So it's even more pressure.
There's more pressure.
On women.
Literally, it's more pressure on women. It's too accessible. There's a game called Cards Against Humanity. And it's like apples to apples. I don't know if you ever played it, but you have a series of cards that are just scriptures. I'm gonna do a beer this time.
I guess I'll go for a beer too. Let's see what we got.
There's some IPAs I saw.
Let's see. The Hop Stupid is really good. Hop Hunter is really good.
I don't want one that's 9% though.
Okay, so then I'm gonna mix those two.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know Hop Stupid is high.
Let's scratch those out.
Let's
Maybe
go.
the Racer 5.
I was just looking at that.
You have Happy Camper? Is that here?
I don't have Happy Camper.
What's
No.
this Thai style white IPA?
We're out of it. It's super hard to get a hold of.
God damn it.
We had it for 2 days.
People
disappeared.
just guzzle it. Yeah, I'll have the
Dogfish 60 even is going to be a little lower.
okay. I know Dogfish.
Good juju.
We don't have that either. They stopped making it for this, so it's awful.
Let me do the racer.
Racer 5?
Yeah.
Let me...
I'm gonna go to the restaurant.
Iron Thistle, have you had this?
Yeah, it's good, but I like it with espresso. When you mix them together, it's called an Iron Joe.
Let's do that.
You want to try one?
Yeah, fuck yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
cool.
Yeah. It's Tuesday.
You know we're only supposed to have one drink, right? Employees.
Really?
Yeah.
From not on the clock yet.
No, even if you're not on the clock.
Really? What?
If you come in, drink to your level one.
Really?
But I'll give you a beer. We'll do this.
Oh, here, thank you, man.
Yeah. But don't tell anybody that I let this happen.
Holy shit. And now everybody can hear the music. As you can see, hopefully everybody can listen to what's going on here. So, I'm just chit-chatting. First ever. My first podcast and hopefully more to come. We're just waiting for Danny to take a piss, pretty much. Apparently I just found out that because I actually work here at Tradecraft. Turns out that I can only have one drink. Oh well, what are you gonna do, right? Fuck it. That's all I can say. Let's check the old where are we at? Oh, dude, an hour and 30 minutes. That's perfect. What do you think is, and you know, this is what I was discussing with, and that's one of the reasons that I give the students a podcast as an extra credit. Because I always ask them, like, what did you like, what did you dislike? And I'm trying to find that sweet spot of, like, what's too much, what's too little, you know? And I noticed that a lot of them were like, some were like, I thought it was just too, I love the podcast, but I felt like it was too long. That's what and I'm just like, you know? And I'm just, but the way I see it, most of them, like, I didn't think it was, like, most of them tell me, oh, well, I looked at it and right away it's 3 hours. And this is my favorite thing to do. By the way, all the podcasts are 3 hours. Oh, you just hear this moan.
Devastated. It's a long time. I think about. It's funny because I'll watch a YouTube video and if I see it's 5 minutes long, I'm not watching it. I was seriously. But I listen to. There are podcasts that I listen to that are.
So this is called an Iron Joe.
Oh shit. Iron Joe.
Yeah.
And then what does it have in it?
It's an Iron Thistle with espresso.
A shot of espresso?
Mm-hmm.
You run an Iron Man for that. So wait, is it a stout with an espresso?
So
It's Iron Thistle's, I think it's strong ale, an American strong ale.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
maybe just throw
That's
espresso into it.
coffee beer. That's awesome.
if I need to get any more wired.
Right? And mellowed at the same time.
Yeah. All at once.
Thank you.
But
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, man, because I listen to a
what do you listen
podcast.
to? Which podcast do you listen to? Do you listen?
Yeah.
Which ones do you listen
It's
to?
called the one. I only listen to one. I've listened to others. It's called the TED Radio Hour by NPR with Guy Raz. And what they do is they bring in 4 or 5 people that did a TED Talk that have a somewhat of a central theme or idea. So the idea could be like identities. And they'll bring in 5 different people who have 5 wildly different perspectives on identities. But they've all given TED Talks about identity.
Right.
It's awesome because you'll listen to one and you're like, wow, I'm so convinced. Like, this is how we should think about identities. And the next one will come in that's opposite. And you're like, shit, I believe this guy. These are all TED speakers. They're very...
I can imagine already.
You know, and this is academia. These are really eloquent, you know, strong, confident about their point they're making. And then you get another perspective. You're like, wow, I don't know who to believe. And then you hear another one, you're like, shit. And then they usually wrap it up with the first guy. They bring them back to tie it all together. And you're like, man, it gives you a more, I think, a well-rounded thing. So, I mean, YouTube videos of like, shit, it's 5 minutes, I'm not watching it. But I'll listen to this hour podcast all the time. And I think it's a combination of content and kind of your willingness to kind of get through it. Because some people don't have a patience. Some people don't have a tolerance. Because immediately, I think with our age and technology, once you get to a point where you're not having a good time, it's so easy to just click X.
Yeah.
Or click on the next video. It's so easy. I find myself doing it too. I'm like, oh, this sucks. Before I even listen to it. You know, but I'll just read a book for like 5 hours.
Yeah. First thing you look, what's the time?
It's true. I find myself falling into that same trap, but it's like, I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it's determined by the person and their interest in the subject. And then I think one cool thing about podcasts is that there's so many different topics out there that you typically can find something.
I just like that, just like me and you right now having this conversation. We have there's no guidelines.
Script, yeah.
Dude, to me, that's my world. Here's the field, Aiden.
Yeah.
You talk about whatever the fuck you want. There's no, that's like, to me, like, and I was just talking to somebody about that. And I was talking to my brother about that, actually. And, because I'm going to have him, I'm going to talk to him, too. And he's the strength coach, and he just actually opened up his own gym. And so he's, after so many years, dude, of just, to me, I'm just like, I look up to you, man.
Yeah.
Because he never
Gave up.
Never, dude. He's had so many jobs. He's like, I'm not gonna sell myself down just because this job's gonna pay me so much. This is who I am. This is what I do. And now, finally, dude, and finally, someone recognized him for like the person he is, just kind of like this guy.
Yeah. And they rewarded it. Hard work will pay off.
That's the only thing you can
never
do.
know when or where.
My brother, dude, this is what he was put on the planet to do. This is what he was put on the planet to do. And I always tell him that. And dude, when he talks, he just fucking is so eloquent. He's the one who looks over my blog post. And he's just like, he's just so eloquent. And he's like, yo, let's go to do this and whatever. And I'm just like,
Yeah. Oh, I never even thought of that.
yeah, dude, the way he does it and everything like that, dude. So,
They call it a grit. Grit is that determination that when even you're faced with failure, you continue. So perseverance, all those type of words, but you're basically punched in the face daily, saying you shouldn't do this, you can't do this, but you continue to keep going. It's those are the people. If you think about a common denominator across successful people, that's it. Some people are naturally gifted.
Yeah.
Good for them. You know, they're doing well. Or they don't like what they do, but they're so good at it that they do it anyways. Sports players sometimes are like that. Like some people are just, I was gonna play football, but now I'm playing pro baseball. Like Michael Jordan. Like, I'm gonna retire from basketball and I'm gonna play professional baseball.
Yeah.
Like, who can do that?
exactly.
And he actually hit okay. Like, he wasn't terrible. It's very rare, but most people, the most successful is that kind of determination, the grit, where you're just like, everyone's saying no, but you're like, something's telling me yes, and you know, even if I'm failing, I'm just gonna keep trying. Some people should give up. Occasionally you run across that person, you're like, all right, man, maybe this is.
You know what,
change
bro?
directions or take the other river or something.
You know, to me, I think the heart.
That's hard to tell them.
I would say, you know what, dude? Like, if someone want to be an actor, I'm just like, dude,
that's a hard one.
good luck, dude. Like like to me, like I know that if I keep doing what I'm doing, like, and I want to do this. This is what I want to do, man. I just want to fucking meet crazy fucking people, interesting people, and have them just give them the platform. Like imagine now if I give Dr. Khan the platform. Here it is. You talk about whatever is on your mind. What do you think about this? What do you think about education?
You'll be here for days.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be like, they'll be kicking us out.
Yeah.
Because he would just keep on
going.
Oh,
yeah.
And I think that's what's so cool about the internet. It allows you that platform. And the whole shitty of like the whole, like when you hear debates, like on the news, or like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that.
You get a short period of time, and you basically have a script that you don't want to mess up.
You don't get to meet the person. Yeah. That's why I think I've read so many books that I've heard people that have come on the podcast, and then they go on the podcast and they're talking about penis half the time, dude, or about how they used to do so much math.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, I like him so much.
Yeah. I'm gonna read his book.
I'm gonna read his fucking book.
I'm gonna follow him on Twitter.
Fucking awesome guy.
Yeah.
He did math. He went to jail for 5 fucking years. Got out. Decided to write a book on how he fucking did. Fuck it. And you get to really.
That's true.
He's a character. You like him. They might have talked about his book. They usually like, so what is your book?
Yeah.
Like, the last 5 minutes of the podcast, and I'm just like, let me look up that book.
The good ones don't talk about their work too long.
Yeah.
The good interviewers go straight from, let me talk about you. We're here to talk about your book, but we want to hear about you. Like, give us your spiel on the book that you give everyone, but let's get down to the nitty gritty. What made you think of it? At least the type of basic stuff. But that's where stories spin off, because no one has origin stories are always really interesting. It's never like short and sweet. It's usually really complicated, or they had something that was big moment in their life. One of the ones that I love is the leader of the Crips. I forget the guy's name right now, but Jamal. It's something like Jamal. Jamal was started the Crips. The Crips, that famous gang, and started in LA, right? This man gets sentenced to jail, finds God. Now he's changed. He wrote a book. It is one of the most interesting books I've ever read in my entire life.
You read that?
I read it, but the only reason I read it is because I heard a blurb of him talking about his transformation while he was in jail, and it talked about how he realized that what he was starting was this brotherhood, and it turned into this violence, messed up shit, but the foundations of the Crips was somewhat noble, and the guy was super interesting, and I was like, I want to read that book now. I don't know anything about gangs. I'm white. I'm like the suburbs of LA. I'm the farthest thing from a gang you could ever get. But I wanted to read that man's book, and I found it and I read it. It was because the internet put it out there. Someone had a little blurb, and I read it, and I was like, wow, that sounds freaking interesting, up my alley. But that exposure was I don't even think it was around 30 years ago. You don't have that.
Fuck no, dude. And to me, that's why it's something I'm like, ever since I've been hearing podcasts, dude, I was just like, what? To me, it was just kind of like you connect with those people, You connect with these people, you're like, fuck, dude, this dude's fucking insane. This guy's, I love him.
Yeah.
And he's done good, you know what I mean? And the connection that we have.
You feel different when you've heard these types of personal stories from the person himself.
I even have now a different outlook on depression. Before, dude, I was like, fuck you, pussy. Fuck you. I'm literally, dude. I was like, shut the fuck up. You live in America. Stop fucking crying. Do some push-ups.
True.
Do some goddamn push-ups. And get out there. But until I heard it's another some lady, her name, not lady, but some girl, Cara Santa Maria, talk about, and she's a master's in neuroscience, and she talked about her battle with depression, and I'm just like, I feel like such a douche, dude. I was just like, damn, because she talked about, like, there's no, you come in like, oh, Danny, you have depression. There's no, like, assay that we can give you. It's just kind of like, okay, well, it seems like you might have depression.
Yeah, let me talk to you for 4 weeks and I'll diagnose you then. Yeah, it seems you have severe depression. Like, shit, it took me 4 weeks just to diagnose. Now we have no treatment. Just keep talking to me.
Exactly. And then they're forced to play guinea pig with each person.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's different.
It's like, oh, we'll take this. Call me in a week. See what happens.
Yeah.
Dude, that fucking thing might make it go crazy. You know? So to me, that's just like, fuck. And to me, those are the experiences that I've been able to hear, like, different perspectives of people. Of her actually giving her account of things like that. That's what I'm just like, fucking shit.
Those subtle, I think, those very subtle mental disorders are the hardest things to deal with, because when you interact with that person, they seem normal.
Yeah.
You think, shit, this guy's just a no other guy. But you don't know he could leave and be battling with insane depression, or he's bipolar.
Look at Robin Williams.
And they seem normal, so you feel like, you feel like telling them, just do some push-ups, you'll be fine. Or like, go drink another beer, you'll be okay. It's no big deal. Like, it's just a bad day.
Yeah.
Those things are the hardest things to deal with. And I think listening to other people that are actually dealing with them is important, because you start to say, okay, look, this is a normal person most of the time, but they're dealing with something that's beyond what we can even fathom. It's much easier if you broke your foot, because we know how to fix your foot.
Yeah.
We don't know how to fix your mind
At all, dude.
That's hard.
Good luck, bro.
Good luck. And it's.
No, we fix it, Danny?
We talk to you.
No, with ayahuasca. That's how we fix it, dude. That's how we fix it. I'm telling you, dude.
Don't they give people now? They have like
That's how we fix
ecstasy treatments and like
MDMA
MDMA
for depression. They
yeah.
literally, like, there's doctors, there are very few doctors, I think, in California that
California, of
are,
course.
of course,
Right.
that administer it. And I heard a podcast that some comedian that he actually...
Artie Lang.
Yeah. No. Who's that?
You don't know Artie?
Artie Lang.
Artie Lang. He was on the Howard Stern show for years.
No.
Super fat. He just came out with a funny like recovery stand-up where he talks about his time in rehab and shit.
No.
Look him up. He's pretty funny.
Okay.
But he would seem like the guy that would try
No, this guy was just like, he was just kind of like, he said that he realized that he needed something when he was like driving down and his manager called him, hey, they pick up your script and you're gonna make so much money, and he's just crying. And he's like, man, I need to do something. And he
couldn't even be happy.
No, he just didn't know. And it got to the point that he was like so miserable, and he was so used to being miserable that he didn't even know like he just thought that was everyday life. Like to him, it was just like, this is everybody.
It was normal to him, right? Yeah.
This is everybody. So he looked at some doctors and he saw this new treatment, and yeah, man, that's what helped him out. I don't know if it was MDMA or one of those, kind of like ecstasy cousins or something like that. That's what pulled him out of it. And to me, I'm just like, that's fucking crazy. So that's why this time, dude, hopefully I'm going to go. That's why I'm so glad I have this apparatus.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to get to, hopefully...
You should interview people
the
while you're
shaman
there.
also. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk to the shaman. And this
You know, that could be actually a sweet documentary.
Yeah.
Because if you had interviews of the people, because each person is coming there for a different reason.
Yeah.
And each story is going to be super unique. You're going to get some like that where someone's like, my life is fucked, I just need to do it. Some people are going to have really deep, crazy stories where they were 3 years old and someone hit them with a shovel, and ever since then they've been wrong. This seemed like the right... That would be actually really interesting. Hear different people's, why are you here? And then talk to the shaman and say, what are you giving them? Kind of like, not what are you giving them physically, but what are you giving them mentally? What do you think this is giving to these people? That would be interesting.
And he's, to me, I see him, I don't know, I'm kind of interested because I'm reading his book.
Yeah, he's a businessman, right?
Well, he's an engineer, electrical engineer by trade. And apparently he comes from a long line of like shamans.
Okay.
And then, but he was in a vision, he was drinking ayahuasca, and then his book is about what's called the last city of Atlantis in Peru. And it's Huachumana or something like that, about how about how he was drinking ayahuasca and he got this vision of some city, and then he realized that this is actually a city was in Peru, and the plant
Machu
guy.
Picchu?
No, it's in Cusco, very close.
Okay,
very
okay.
close. And he got like a vision telling him like this is actually this wildest city was built.
Yeah.
So he decided like to put himself in that, like he started doing research and everything like that, and that's why he wrote this book. And it just goes crazy.
Yeah.
So to him, I see him as like, it's like, man, this is like the shaman 2.0.
Right, yeah.
Like he's like formally educated,
Yeah.
but he's also educated in the traditional, more traditional way. So I'm like kind of excited. In a way, I'm like, don't get your hopes up, Aiden. Like I'm just kind of like, oh, dude, this guy could be like. Man.
But don't be disappointed if he's not a Dr. Khan. Seriously.
I like how we're already like.
Not everyone is that level. That level of extroverted. Because some people have a ton of information, but they don't deliver it in a way that's effective. As we were talking about, older people sometimes withhold information. Sometimes younger people too. It's that spectrum of extrovert and introvert. So he may be awesome, and he clearly plays that interface between the industrial developed world and the traditional kind of cultural world.
Yeah.
He's clearly right on the interface of that, but he may not be like really enthusiastic or charismatic about what he's telling you. So be careful, you know. And if he's not that way, don't think he sucks.
Just by looks. Just here, I'm looking it up right now. Here he is. What do you think?
He looks like a Native American.
Just purely based on. So literally, we're just looking it up right now. Just
That's his book. That's his book, Sakwa Simon.
So yeah, dude.
A model of Atlantis, the untold story.
I'm gonna run and take a piss real quick.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite lines I've ever read.
What?
He's lived present moment, experienced the miracle of human consciousness. He's studying QHHT, Dolores Cannon quantum hypnosis technique.
Oh, well, this guy.
Tell him to give that to you, whatever that is.
No, this guy actually, it turns out that I don't know how, but through the grapevines of jujitsu, apparently he's a big jujitsu practitioner. How, I don't know.
Tell him to give you that. No, I think the guy he looks legit.
Okay.
Now I don't know if he'll be an awesome speaker, whatever.
Well, I mean,
but he definitely looks the part.
Okay.
I would say. I mean, of course, appearances don't mean much. Sometimes,
but you're just literally looking at a picture, reading a little
blur,
bio, a little clip right there.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like, come on, you know, I'm just like, come on.
Keep your expectations low.
Really low.
Keep them low because you'll always be surprised.
Like, you never know.
Unless someone tells you otherwise, like if someone comes up to you and says, hey, I went on this guy's retreat last year. The fucking best.
Well, this is actually, that's why this is new. This is literally, they've only had like maybe barely, not even a year. So this is like the new, yeah, dude. So I'm excited, dude. I'm just like, oh, fuck. And then some other guy was telling me, not that I'm gonna do it. Well, maybe.
Don't rule anything out.
So apparently, like you can hire like tarumanas, which are the raro muri. That translates to running man.
Yeah.
And you can hire them to go and pick mushrooms for you.
Yeah.
Because they're really big into. It turns out that that was their like once a year religious practice. Like they would make it into like a brew.
Yeah.
And they would drink. And that was like their psilocybin. That's what they were drinking. And I'm just like, really?
I could see it. Psychedelics, if you have everyone that's on board with taking psychedelics and they're in that state to get emotionally healed, I could see it being very effective. The problem I think with taking psychedelics in the States is that it's illegal.
Yeah.
And there are people that aren't on board with it at all.
Why do you think they're not on board?
Because they're afraid.
Why are they afraid?
I'm not sure. I mean, you know, I think because you hear rumors of people having bad trips or because it is illegal. Anything illegal puts fear in people because you could be arrested. There's a certain level of paranoia. There's all these things. So, and because of that, I think it discourages others to take it, which I don't disagree. There could be some healing properties, especially emotional.
Oh, tell me about it.
Because, you know, reaching into that type of psychological state is not just visual. It's emotional, mostly emotional, and then on the side you get some aesthetics that you're like, okay, I'm looking at this or that, but it's mostly an emotional
To
thing.
me, when I tell people, like when they're like, well, describe it to me, I'm like, imagine if I could compress 10 years of therapy in 7 days. I go, that's the easiest one-liner, and again, I take that from Dr. Khan. You need to be able to like compress it, just
Take it all.
fucking short. So that's what I tell people. Imagine if I could tell you, I'm gonna compress 10 years of therapy with a psychiatrist in 7 days. That's how effective this is.
Right.
Now, your therapy is going to be different from mine,
Yeah.
and everybody's going to be different.
Everybody.
But I mean, you're only going to be good after that. You know what I mean? And so this one, I'm just like, oh. And dude, like there was a couple of times I'm like hyperventilating, thinking like, why?
What if it's not as strong as the shit you took in Peru?
I don't know.
What if you're like, because you know how like people, you probably tasted the best ayahuasca
Yeah.
that is around.
Well, this is coming from Peru.
But it's had to travel on a plane, it's dried out, who knows? There's shit like, there's all that shit. I'd rather have it from the source, right?
Yeah.
So what if you get in there and you're like, day 2, you're like, this is
Pounding. Just, I'm gonna need
mushrooms! You're calling for the shrooms. You got people running up to you just feeding you. I don't know, but like, what if you think, because you'll definitely at some point, day 5, I don't know how long, don't they give it to you 3 days or 4 days and then you're 5 days and then you purge or
Fasting.
something?
So
So you're not even eating.
no, dude. Literally. Well, first of all, I'm an American. Okay, let's start out with that. Okay,
right.
I'm used to like American protein,
Right.
which is like 2 pounds of beef.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So first
Cheese.
of all, yeah. So the shaman diet alone
Yeah.
is no fat, no oil, no salt, no spicy food, and they literally like boil and like they what do you call it? Steam everything.
Steam.
Well, 95% of it consists of vegetarian diet.
Yeah.
Very little, dude, no fat whatsoever. That destroys me, dude. You're just, and then you only eat breakfast and lunch.
No dinner.
No dinner.
Ayahuasca's your dinner?
Yeah, yeah. Open wide, motherfucker. Open. Dude, I just remember by like Thursday, I was just like,
You're so hungry.
and we would get these little pieces, like little pieces of meat like that. I'm like, oh,
I
dude.
should give you avocados. That's good fat.
No, well, you can't
I
have
don't
that.
even give you that.
No, dude, no, that's fat. Like, so it's literally just like rice, veggies, like soups. They give us soup with like no salt in it, and like a lot of veggies, and then a lot of hard-boiled eggs. Fruits, yes, fruit. You get fruit, but so you're like, literally, they give you just enough not to die. Literally.
It usually takes 2 to 3 days before your body's, when you're on that type of diet, to get rid of the toxin, the basic toxins. It's maybe 5
One day.
One day.
For me, dude.
You switch, yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm used to like a high-fat diet.
Right, yeah.
Like I can go without sugar, cool.
Yeah.
But I need to eat fat, coconut oil, like
Yeah.
dude, within hours, I'm like,
So you're just dealing with a dietary,
dude.
mentally,
So
and you're taking.
I right away I'm just like, son of a bitch. Dude, so trust me, that shit hits me like a ton of bricks. I'm fine. Like, I'm fine.
I guarantee you'll feel different though.
Oh yeah.
I think you will. It'll be interesting because I know that different levels of potency will have different effects on the trip itself. Whether you need to take more or take less or who knows what it is, but it will actually have a different effect on the actual mental trip that you go on.
And the environment's gonna be different.
The environment's gonna be very different. You're closer to home. You're closer to home. You're in Mexico.
Yeah.
It's not super far from here.
7 hours. Actually.
7-hour drive.
7 hours.
So that technically, and if you think about it this way, because like sometimes you get in that position on psychedelics where you want to escape. So you start counting those 7 hours, like, man, I could drive that 7 hours. You're like, okay, the car is here. Who's got the keys? This guy's got the keys. I could be home in 7 hours. It's 6 hours 50. What if I drive fast 6 hours? You'll go through those type of debates and shit like that. So it will have a whole different. I think the trip will be interesting because now you have a baseline because you've been once. You have a baseline of expectations. This is your ground zero. So everything that happens on this trip will be compared to that. Good or bad, exactly, or the same. Which will be very interesting to hear the perspective at the end of it, because it will be like, okay, well, in this aspect, I think people who say, oh, it was better than last trip, too general.
Yeah.
There's very specifics, like, okay, this aspect of it was better, the food was better, or the climate was better, or the leader was better, or the helpers were better, or something like that. And then some will be worse. Like, oh, the ayahuasca wasn't as strong, or the ayahuasca was much stronger, or something. Who knows if they boil it long enough? Don't they boil the root or something like that?
Apparently, I was talking to the guy.
Yeah.
It's a vine.
It's a vine. Okay.
And then you also have to combine it with another leaf. Okay. So in other words, you can be able to absorb it. Because if it's just a vine, which carries the neurotransmitters, your body will, and the stomach acid to break it down, you can absorb it. You need an NAO inhibitor.
Okay.
So it's kind of all it is in layman's terms. You're just able to absorb it, and it hits you like a ton of bricks. That's what it is. It's like an 8-hour boiling process. And I asked the guy when he was chopping and breaking it down, and I was like, "How long did it take you to learn how to like boil it properly?" He's like, "A year." Like it's a year of apprenticeship to be able to, for them to let me do it on my own. You know?
That's a dying art.
Yeah.
If it takes that long to learn it, it's dying art. Dude, there's a whole thing about making noodles in China, about ramen noodles, like the traditional way.
I love noodles.
Only a few people do it now because it takes a year of apprenticeship. They're pulling it. There was this. I remember watching Anthony Bourdain, and he goes into this small Chinaman's apartment, and the guy's sitting on like a big piece of bamboo, and he uses it to flatten the dough, but he puts it between his legs, and he bounces up and down, and he's like, I have no apprentice right now, because no one wants to learn this, because it takes a year before you get good noodles. It's ramen. In the U.S., it's top ramen, where everyone's like, yeah, I hate top ramen. But to them, and when you make real top ramen, real ramen, it's a whole different thing, but it's a dying art.
Dude, I love ramen.
And real noodles where the guy made it fresh. Fresh pasta is so much better than
Have you had pho right here?
No, I haven't been there yet.
Dude, I love noodles.
It's good.
I think those are the best. That's the best pho. Actually, it's pho. Those are the best pho that I've had so far. And then I'm like, fuck yeah. I'm like, this is fucking, this is legit.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, hell yeah.
Vietnamese, right? Something
Yeah,
like that,
right here.
Yeah.
Next to you, Tip.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Right,
the pho or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Dude, the best. I am just like, no way, dude. Like, it's fucking awesome, dude. It's the best. But yeah. So where are we at right now? Dude, 2 hours and 6 minutes. Not too bad.
I do have one story from Uganda
Alright.
that I didn't tell you.
So after this, I think I'm gonna have a little segment.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have like a question, the last question that I always want to ask everybody, and then Let's go with just go. What was
Let me tell you the last story. It's
All right.
more about the people that I interact with. Because we talked about Raul from India, but Raul was from India. He's not from Uganda. These were people from Uganda.
Yeah.
So we go from Kampala, we go east, which is towards the Kenyan border,
Okay.
closer to the ocean, right? We're heading east, away from Congo. We hit Mount Elgon National Park, all these things. We meet a couple people, really interesting culture. They're the people that do adult circumcision. So they have female and male adult circumcision. Really interesting.
Go fuck yourself.
Talk to one of the
You're not
guys.
touching me, dude. No.
And the males get it at 15.
No.
The females get it at like 8.
Don't think.
And for the males, before
Isn't
you're
it like a stick?
no, it's with a knife, but
I've
the
heard of
knife is
stick,
like
dude.
the knife is like fashioned by the locals, so they don't have like a cutting blade, right? The kid I talked to was 18, so he had just got it a few years ago. He told me that before, this is not the real story, but this is just a sub-story, because we had to go to Elgon to go to the next place.
Yeah.
And the next place is where the story. The kid tells me that circumcision, before circumcision, you're treated like a woman, or you're treated like, they don't call you by name. They wouldn't say, hey, Aiden, drink this beer. They would just say, you, give me beer, or something like that.
You didn't have a title.
You didn't even have a title.
Oh, fuck.
Once you have circumcision, you have a title, and they give you, it's a party. The whole village shows up.
Yeah.
So your mom's there, the girl that you thought was cute down the street is there, everyone's there. Literally, and they watch this, and you do the circumcision in front of you, right? He also tells me that if you get circumcised at the hospital, not at the traditional place, that you are treated like a woman the rest of your life, or treated as beneath everyone, even beneath the women. Because if they find out that you got a civilized circumcision at the hospital when you're a baby, you're written off culturally. You have to move, basically, is what he was telling me. Craziness. So he tells me this crazy story. That was at Elgon. We go to this place called Kadam.
Yeah. Okay.
Top of the mountain, there's people called Kadam. They're the Kadam people. The bottom of the mountain, they're called Karamojong. They're the Karamojong people. Karamoja is the region. Karamojong. In between is the Pakot, which are the inner breed of Kadam and Karamojong. It's the hybrids. So the hybrids live at the base of the mountain up to about 1,500 meters elevation. And at the top of the Kadam. And there's not many people that speak the Kadam language is different than Pakot language, which are the hybrids, and Pakot language is different than Karamojong. Now they can understand aspects of each other, but they can't understand each other fully. And they live a few meters away.
Fucking mountain.
It's insane. So we are climbing this mountain. We want to sleep at the top because we want to find a lizard that lives up there. So we hired a local guide who gives us 2 local, even more local Pakot to climb the mountain. Because he's Karamojong, but he can speak Pakot enough to hire the guys that actually climb the mountain. Hire 2 guys. We show up to get these guys. They're going to be our porters. They're going to carry our stuff up the mountain and also show us the way. We show up at 8 a.m. We give these guys about $20 each, cash, U.S. cash. I think it's 60,000 shillings to buy food.
Yeah.
These guys go and buy 2 1.5 liters of local gin. Local gin is made from bananas. It is disgustingly sweet and highly alcoholic. This is 8 a.m. They bought 2 of them. They had already been drinking. And they also buy... It's essentially palm wine. It's bush wine. It's made from bananas, and they call it the local gin. Waragi is one of their other local gins. And they also buy big bundles of this leaf called mara, or kahat. And kahat is analogous to cocaine leaves, so they chew it.
Sounds like a
And
Miley.
it gives you no feeling of food. Like you don't feel.
Did you taste any of them?
Of course I chew it. But they buy bundles of this stuff,
Okay.
and you chew it, and it's really
So it's
bitter,
like dip?
super bitter,
Like dip.
but it's fresh leaves. So it's like they picked it off a tree, right? So they buy bundles of this stuff. So instead of buying food, they buy cigarettes, local gin, and mara, the cocaine leaf that makes you feel like you're not hungry. You stay up for multiple nights if you continue to chew it. Like you don't sleep, you don't feel tired, and you work. Is basically why they eat it. They chew it. These guys then take all of our gear. So they buy this stuff and we're laughing because we're like, this is like a huge ass hike. And by the way, these guys, one of the guys was 6'7", and the guy's about 6'3". Monsters, just huge, tall Kenyan related. They had Kenyan blood. Those the Masai Mara, that type of culture, really tall. That wear the red thing. Yeah, these guys were in. So they take our gear and they tie it around them in those red sachets almost. It's like 25 kilograms of weight. Like I had all my tent, everything. They just took it. Boom. They start hiking up the mountain. We're following them. These guys, every time we stopped, when everyone's sweating and tired, they would pour gin into a smaller cup. They would drink it, smoke a cigarette, and chew more mara. And they were just chewing, right? We get up. This is just going on. This is like, now it's like 10 a.m. These guys are now officially drunk. One of them spoke enough English to talk to him. He's slurring his words, and we're laughing. We're like, what are you doing drinking gin right now? It's 10 a.m. And he's like, he holds up the bottle and he goes, this is 4-wheel drive. And we said it in his local dialect, 4-wheel drive. And we just started laughing. We're like, what? 4-wheel drive? So he's like, this allows me to get the mountain to the top. And we're just like, oh my God, he's smoking a cigarette, drinking gin, and chewing marab.
Fucking soldier.
Dude, these guys, okay, so they never slept. We get to the top of the mountain. Everyone else slept. These guys stayed up till the next morning, till about 5 a.m., chewing marab. The trees that marab grows on hang off the side of a cliff like this, literally. And it's a freaking drop, like 1,000 feet. You're dead. This guy, 6'7", climbs to the top of it at midnight with a light. That all he did was tape it to his head. He didn't have a headlamp like we had. He literally took a vine and tied a light around his head. He climbs this freaking thing and he's pulling off, because you have to get the young shoots. You can't get the mature leaves. You have to get the fresh, young ones. So he's picking them. And I'm at midnight trying to take pictures of this guy like, oh my God, but it was too dark. It was too dark. The next morning, he climbed some more trees lower down in the forest, and I took some pictures of him up there. And he's like, 40 feet high, pulling off the freshest shoots that he could get. These guys chewed, drank, and smoked the entire time. They never ate. They didn't eat breakfast. They didn't eat dinner the night before. They didn't eat lunch when everyone else did. They just chewed, drank, and smoked. Dude. They got to the top of the mountain, okay? They had drank all their gin by the time we reached the top. 1.5 liters between these two monsters. These are two, just Goliaths. They say, we need to go and get more alcohol. We're like, where are you going to go? It took us 5 hours to climb up here. You're not going to be able to go back down. They're like, oh, just over that ridge. Ridge is 10 miles away. I'm like, we're all looking at him like, 10 miles? You're not going to be able to walk over that ridge and find gin. He's like, oh, don't worry about it. He's telling us more or less in his local language and a very broken English. He leaves. 2 hours later, we saw him disappear in the forest, and I know he climbed that ridge. He comes back with another 1.5 liters of gin. There's people living, the Kadam. People live up there. He's Pakot, so he can interact with them enough. Comes back with 1.5 liters. Just started drinking again. And then we get down the next day. These guys had picked all night. Pick. All this mara. And we chewed it. It tastes like if you were to chew fresh, tea leaves.
Big leaves or
small? Because they pick the fresh ones, the buds.
Okay.
But it's really bitter. So what they also do is they chew raw sugar. So you chew you put a bunch of the leaves in your mouth, and then you take raw sugar and throw it in your mouth to kind of counterbalance. Yeah, okay. Exactly. So their teeth are disgusting. You feel you kind of feel you're numb, a little numb inside.
And it hurts your stomach?
If you don't have food, yeah. And I didn't eat, so I was walking up the mountain kind of okay. I don't want to chew too much more, but I didn't want to not chew in front of these freaking behemoths, So I kept chewing, suffering. I suffered. Exactly. I kept suffering. I was like, screw it. These guys are chewing, drinking, and smoking. I gotta at least chew, right? Apparently, it's illegal in Uganda. It's strongly Arabic, common in the Arabic type of culture. Anyways, we get to the bottom. These guys had pick. They had a bundle this big. On the way down, we run into two guys. They were also up there to pick. They were naked. Completely fucking naked. Butt naked. Okay? And this is this is like stinging nettles up to your teats type of forest. Like there's a canopy, but then at the bottom is stinging nettles. All these barefoot. These guys were barefoot. I'm in there with like I'm wearing boots up to my knees. I'm wearing like long sleeve, and I see these two naked dudes carrying bundles of greens on their back. That was them. They sell it down at the bottom of the mountain. That was their survival. These guys were just didn't feel pain. I don't know how they did it. But anyway, we get to the bottom. They're chewing. And they were, everyone chewed. The whole village chewed. Even the old ladies were spitting green. We get to the bottom. The two guys that we were with hid all of the mara in our luggage. And we were like, why are you hiding it? We get to the bottom, we find out why. Because once they got to the bottom, everyone says, hey, give me your mara. Every person is telling them to bring them mara. And they're like, oh, we didn't pick any. They just keep walking.
So
they were hiding it. They were hiding it. They didn't want to tell the villagers that they had it. So they were hiding it. They come and walk, and everyone's yelling at them, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, we didn't get any. You know, just carrying our luggage. We're just porters. You know." They get down, and they take our luggage, and they take their mara out, and we're like, we ask them like, "What are you gonna do with that?" They're like, "Oh, we go to town and sell it." Because if they try to sell it in the village, all the locals are like, "No, you give it to me for free because I'm your father." You know, they try to take it. Dude, these guys. Insane. I mean, just and they.
You got pictures of these guys?
I did get pictures. I didn't get pictures with them though to see the size difference because they're monsters. I should have taken pictures with them.
All right, well, when I put this up, dude, I want some
Pictures
of those
that
pictures.
yeah.
I want some of those pictures. Did you get a picture of Raul?
No. He emailed me though.
Can
I got his
he
email.
send you a picture
Of him? Maybe.
dude, because I want to like put it and be like, this is Raul.
Yeah, Raul is a smuggler from India. Eli told me that, he goes, oh, maybe you shouldn't have talked to that guy.
Too late.
The next day, I was sitting around hanging out, and Raul showed up. And I was like, hey, what's up, man? This was the next day after we talked all night. Sat down and bought me a couple more beers. We talked, chatted about more things, and then Eli and Wendy came down, his wife, and they sat with us for a little while and chatted with Raul and everything, because I was like, hey, you guys both have been to Congo for the past, like, I don't know. I was like, Eli's been there for the past 8 years. So like, you guys probably have things to bond over. Like, you know, hey, this guy's a gold smuggler.
By the way.
And later, Eli was like, yeah, I got a weird vibe from that guy. He was like, yeah, he was a gold smuggler, so, you know, it's sketchy.
Dude, that's badass.
But I was like, think about past that.
Think about how many. What other time in your life did you ever meet somebody like that?
Yes. If I didn't talk to that guy, I'd never have even the knowledge of gold smuggling, real gold smuggling, in that part of the country.
Exactly.
The good and the bad.
Imagine if we could sit him down right now. And Raul is right here.
Oh, geez,
What do you think he can tell you?
This man was a wealth of stories, experiences, you know.
Just like gold smuggler.
Yeah.
That's
And he knows the intricacies of the business. Not just I am a gold smuggler. Like he can tell you some details.
Is
that
it
he
just
would-
gold or is it like dimes? It's just gold.
Just gold.
Strictly gold. Okay, cool.
That's all he deals with. He didn't talk to me about anything else. He showed me a picture of him with a gold bar and a newspaper that had the date on it. You know those type of pictures where it's like
Why do they bring the newspaper out? What is
so to show the date of when you actually did it, and it was like the day before, and I was like, oh.
Okay.
I was like, this feels like highly illegal. Shouldn't be seen in this picture. But I mean, you don't. It's true. You don't have those experiences, and if you don't, people are super interesting. If you don't interact with them, like when the guy called me over, he never knew me. I didn't know Raul. Never had seen him before in my life. It's 1 in the morning in the middle of Kampala at a hotel. He called me over, and I had that moment where I was like he said, you turn left or right. I was like, either I go see what this guy wants, or I just go, nah. Because I could have easily said, no.
Okay.
Like, I don't know you. I'm not going to walk over there. Hey, yeah, nice to see you. Bye. Not said anything. But I went over to him and started talking to him. And he was like, hey, I'll buy you a beer. I was like, shit, all right, you got me.
My weakness.
Weakness. I'll be back in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know?
God, that's badass, dude. Good thing you did.
Seriously,
Think about it.
you know, it was
And
fantastic.
then now we're here
Yeah.
in Texas talking
Yeah.
about Raul.
Raul.
Good old Raul. Gold smuggler.
I have his email. He emailed me.
Really?
I sent him pictures of some of the snakes I caught.
Does he, so he just pretty much Congo and India?
Yeah. He works it. He flies into Uganda. He told me he was going to go to Congo in about a week and a half. He uses the Tick Hotel as the meeting spot. So while we were there, it gets more interesting. The next day, I walk out into the main area because we were just hanging out for the next 2 days or something. I walk out into the main area where the restaurant is, where I talked to him the night before, and he's out there talking to some guy. And it looks like a kind of sketchy, kind of heated conversation. And I'm like, I see him, and he kind of gives me like a sideways, like, hey, you know. And then I go and sit down, I eat my lunch. He comes over later. That's when he bought me a few more beers, and we talk. And I go, who was that guy? He goes, I don't know. I go, you ever meet him before? He goes, no, he's from Congo. I was like, how did he find you? He goes, I just got a phone call this morning. Hey, I'm coming. Where are you? I'm near Kampala. And he said, oh, come to the Tick Hotel. He says, I use this because it's a safe place. Because if you meet him in a sketchy place, you can get kidnapped. So he meets him in a safe place, and he says, only one person come. Just the guy that can speak enough English to tell me how much gold you have. And he was giving me rules of the gold trade. He told me that if a guy calls you,
Okay.
so you're the middleman for the gold smuggling. When some guy has gold, it calls you. He says, oh, I have 24 kilos of gold. You'll hang up. Because if he has 24 kilos of gold, why does he need to go through Raul, the illegal middleman, to sell that gold? He could go to anyone. He can go to K Jewelers and sell that gold. That's a lot of gold. He was like, if someone calls me and tells me they have a ridiculous amount of gold, I know they're lying. He goes, I learned, and I learned the hard way. And then he says, any lessons you learn in the gold smuggling world are hard lessons. I was like, I don't even fucking want to know.
So by the way, everybody, if anybody calls you and tells you they have 24 kilos of gold,
So hang up.
hang that shit up.
Hang
it
up.
up.
Don't believe them, because they don't have it.
Oh,
They're
shit.
figuring it
What
out.
are the rules that he told me? Just in case we ever want to get into the gold
He
smuggling
said,
business.
never trust a Congolese. If they're from Congo, because that's where that's where all the gold was coming from. None of it's actually taken from Uganda. He said, never trust a Congolese.
Which was the Congolese.
Hang up if someone has if they
A lot of
say
gold,
a lot of gold.
too much.
Never trust a Congolese. Always use a misdirection. The reason why he never trust a Congolese is because of this other rule, was never always use a misdirection. So he said that one time he was working with a Congolese, he worked with him for about a month.
Yeah.
So they were friends. They were actually, this was before he was just a middleman. He was actually getting gold, extracting it. They had the gold in the truck. They were driving. He told the Congolese man, who was his local contact in Congo, where they were going.
Okay.
He said, we're going north towards Bunia. The Congolese man who had worked with them for a month called his friends and said, hey, we're going to be on this road heading north to Bunia around this time. They got hijacked on that road, got gunpoint. And the Congolese guy basically just walked away with the guys that hijacked, that took all their gold. Held at gunpoint, everything from the car was taken, all their passports, everything taken. So he said, from that point on, when you are going north, you tell the person you're going south, and you never trust a Congolese. It's like, every lesson, he's like, all those rules were always, he learned the hard way. I mean, this man was actually kidnapped for 3 weeks.
Shit.
He was held hostage, and he told him, hey, you either put a bullet in my head or let me go, because I don't have money. That's why I'm smuggling gold. He's like, they thought his family in India had money. He's like, I don't have money, that's why I'm here.
Land of opportunity, right? Congo, land of opportunity.
He said that like 5 times. Every
Land
time
of
I laughed
opportunity.
so hard. I was like, no one says that.
Dude, I would pay to have him talk.
Oh my god.
If I could record what he's experienced.
Oh.
Even though I don't have much money, I would fucking pay to just sit down, dude. Talk to me about your gold smuggling.
I was doing my best to try to record mentally what he was saying, because everything he was saying was just, it was like a movie. Now, I don't know if he exaggerated some things. Maybe. Maybe not. The guy, he has no incentive except to excite me. And I'm sitting over there just like, oh, yeah. Like, I was asking him questions about, because to him it was like normal everyday life. And then I was like, wait, how does everyone have your number? Like that question you asked in the beginning, how did they have his number? Well, he's one of the only gold mediators that know the Indian people enough to get to
Did you see the number?
take the raw no.
We'll call him right now, bro.
I have his email. I did email him when I got back.
Dude.
I sent him pictures of snakes, and I said, "Hey, I hope you're alive."
Dude, I need to
haven't
have a
seen-
picture of him, dude.
He hasn't replied.
We need a picture of him, dude. We need a picture of him, like, by the way, everybody, this is Raul. That's fucking badass.
He talked very fast, and he had a very heavy Indian accent.
Okay.
So you had to kind of meddle through that type of... Because you know when someone has an accent, it's somewhat hard. And then when they speak really fast, they have an accent. But, I think we talked for that first night for like 3 hours. It was insane. Just drinking beer. At one point, everyone... The waitresses fell asleep. He woke one of them up and told them to give him the rest of the bottle. And they brought him I think it was whiskey. They brought him the rest of the fifth, and he just had it. And he got me one more beer. And then I was like, I finished before we finished talking. I had finished my beer. He still had some whiskey left.
What beer was it?
They call it. It's called Club.
Club?
It's kind of like a Budweiser or Coors Light.
Light.
Yeah, regular lager, nothing super special. But yeah, he ended up pouring some of his whiskey into my glass because I was like, let me get a little bit of that before we leave. And he was like, yeah,
Crazy, dude.
yeah.
That's
People were insane. People were just.
I mean, dude, that's one of the reasons I was just like, dude, when you told me about that guy, I was like, I gotta talk to Danny about this shit. Dude, I'm just like when we're talking about like how Dr. Greenbaum was like trying to sell his memoirs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if someone sat him down, just tell me about like your adventures there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the type of individual. I mean, we don't have
Yeah.
we do have interaction, but not as
Limited.
much as, you know what I mean? So to me, it's just like, all right, you know, like it's fucking awesome, dude.
What always perplexes me about him is that he is filled with almost the coolest experiences anyone can have. Like he's told me a couple of the stories since we've been on these trips, but it takes a long time to get them out. He has some crazy stories of militia, of threatening his life, and he has malaria while this is happening. First of all, he has malaria, he's about to die. Second of all, there's a huge militia that is known for killing people, telling him that, hey, if you don't pay me X number of dollars, some crazy amount, we're going to kill you. They have guns, they're like, he has pictures with him and a bunch of militia with a bunch of AK-47. The man has got cool-ass stories, but it takes a little bit to get them out. You know, you have to kind of, it's about framing the question the right way and timing and things like that. But man, he's been through some crazy stuff. Especially his first couple of years in Congo, really just...
Has he been going as a postdoc or as a...
So what he told me was that right when he finished his postdoc, was coming to Utah, he went to Congo. That was his first time, 2007. It's his first time. And he went for a few weeks, got a bunch of really crazy frogs, and then met with his postdoc advisor who was working in like South Africa, and then they flew out together. And his postdoc advisor told him not to go to Congo.
First thing he does.
Told him.
Fuck yeah.
Because his postdoc advisor, Aaron Bauer, has been over the entire world, everywhere, looking for geckos, but he's basically traveled all the really cool spots in the country. Told him don't go to Congo. He worked extensively in Africa, but he said, hey, look, this is not the place to go. No one goes there. It's a war-torn country, especially where you're saying you want to go is the worst. Like Eastern Congo, when he went in 2007, was like going into, I guess, Juarez, and like walking across the border in 2007.
Went there today.
It's different now, but I mean,
it's different,
you know, a few years ago I heard it was really bad.
It was bad. No, hell, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, you're not gonna want, but he's, you know, that was what his advisor said. Don't go. He went. That's pretty badass. So, you know, but he does have some crazy stories. It just takes a while to get them out. he doesn't interact with the people as much, so he doesn't talk. He's a little bit more professional in terms of what he's doing when he's there. Keeps to himself, writes his blog and things like that. But I mean, man, some of the experiences.
And that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you about that, because your experiences, like, dude, think about people that are going to listen to it.
Yeah.
Because think about how many people are like, lizards. It's like, come on.
Who cares?
The general public, right?
Who cares? Yeah.
What's so important? Like, if for the layman person, what would you say? Like, if I'm just like, oh, what would you say? Would they be like, oh, really? You're going to go get chameleons?
Yeah.
Really?
I think what is exciting to someone who's not in science is that we're kind of in the business of species discovery.
Okay.
We're looking for species that no one has seen because the technology wasn't there, the resources weren't there, and the kind of ability to discover species wasn't there historically. So we're going to places that people haven't been in a long time.
When you say a long time, what do you mean a long time?
Some places in Congo, we found species last year that hadn't been seen in over 70 years. In Uganda, we found a species that hadn't been found in over 100 years. So, I mean, this is, in terms of human years, it's a long time. Evolution is not a long time. But in terms of human years and talking about a place on this planet where we feel like we've seen everything, we've touched every point of the globe, there are places that haven't been touched in a long, long time. And the people that went there 100 years ago, or 70 years, or 60 years ago, went there once and quickly got in and left. You know, so I think that's what's really exciting about what we do, and I think that's what people will be excited about, because even in this day and age where we think we know everything, we're still finding things we didn't even know were there. That's exciting. Now, if you say, hey, look, I'm looking to find a lizard, you know, because it, you know, I think it's cool, like my childish ways of thinking, like, lizards. That's what I did when I was a kid. Oh, lizard. Oh, I got one. Yeah, look. I mean, if you tell them that, they're like, oh, who cares? You know, I should rather spend money on helping human problems, aid or poverty, or these real issues, you know, big human issues that are happening right now in Africa. But if you kind of spin it in the way that, hey, look, we're some of the only people there looking for animals that haven't even been described by science. We don't even know what to call them. They don't even have a name yet. That's cool.
So let's say I was a rich dude.
Yeah.
And you're right now giving me
How do I sell you on it?
No. Like, how much if I would have had a check right now?
Yeah.
How much you're just you?
Yeah.
Not whatever.
Yeah.
How much is your expedition out there? Like cost wise?
Yeah.
Like if you had to throw a number out there,
Yeah.
considering this time you hired like a truck, remember, and you did all that stuff or whatever. You were out there how long? 2 months?
2 months.
2
Yeah,
months.
yeah.
How much is that 2 month period? Like how much cost is that to you? Everything.
Yeah. On the high end, 15,000.
15 grand. This is including flight,
Yeah.
round trip, place to stay, hiring people, miscellaneous things,
About 15.
whatever.
Because you have to pay for permits to bring the animals back. The flight is expensive. It was a little bit cheaper this year, but it was expensive. Vehicle rental was very expensive. And then my collaborator, who did a ton of work, I told you he was a driver at one point, he was the negotiator at another point, he was the scientist at another point. I mean, I could only give him what I had left, and it wasn't even enough. I feel like if he was an American, he would have said, I can't accept this salary. I've worked for 2 months, and you need to pay me more. But that's all I had. I told him, hey, look, I basically told him my budget. I said, hey, look, I have this much money. If we can make our trip happen, the proposed program of the places we want to go, if we can make all that happen, whatever's left over, depending on how you budget it, I'm going to give it to you. And that's what happened. But overall, for permits and flight and all these other kind of other things, it's around 15,000.
15.
12 to 15.
12 to 15. So, how about, what could you do with 20? Even better?
Oh my God.
You think you can do
Yeah.
20,000?
I mean, there are areas where we only spend on 1 or 2 nights.
Okay.
Really, areas that haven't been visited by a scientist.
Yeah.
One area in particular has never been visited by a scientist. Never even been to. Scientists haven't been there. Herpetologists, let's be even more specific. Someone who's looking for has never been there. We only were able to spend 2 nights though before we had to go to our next place. So with more money, it allows you to stay there longer, and you can actually get a better picture of what lives there. Because we're just grabbing and going. We're saying, okay, this animal, this animal, go. Okay, we got to go to the next spot because our money's running out. If we have more money, you can hang out in that area. You can really get a sense of what actually is going on there. And that's more often the case when you find things that were unexpected. Because we have expectations when you reach certain localities. You say, okay, this person described this species here 7 years ago, or this species is supposed to be here, those type of things. So you have certain expectations. But when you stay there longer, you get those surprises that you're like, what snake is this? I've never even heard of this before. And then that's what's beautiful about the technology. We have the DNA, being able to analyze it and compare it to other snake species and saying, okay, this is how this one's related to this one or that one. Yeah. But I mean, unfortunately, people don't want that anymore, especially in science. The NSF, the big the funders of what we do, they don't want that anymore. They want discovery science is more so on the methods of things. They don't want people that are going to new places or places they haven't been to in a long time. They want people that are doing methodologies that are new. Genetics-wise, they want whole genome sequencing.
Pyron, right?
Pyron, they want people... Gosh, how many freaking papers did we read by Pyron?
Yeah. I'm like, fuck you.
I'm going to tell you, but then if I were to show my old advisors the herpetology curriculum that we had, they would have been like, are you kidding me? We missed so many landmark papers. Remember in neuroscience with Khan? He would pull out these papers from like the 70s, and this was a paper that changed the way neuroscience was written. Yeah. The owl papers. Yeah. What was the other one with the eyes from the 50s?
The guy who drew. Remember the one with those shitty pictures?
Yeah, but those are landmark papers that are like define a science. We didn't do any of that. We just looked at like Pyron. I couldn't tell you how many times, and he even gave us papers. One of those papers that he gave us, there was a rebuttal in a later issue of that same journal that basically discredited everything that they did because their analysis was wrong. So the analyses that we read and we discussed that was like really profound, where everyone had big, oh yeah, well I feel like this was really life-changing for how I think about reptiles and amphibians. The later paper said, no, these guys did it wrong. Old school herpetologists would be like, no, why are you reading these things? Like, it's important to know what the new people are doing in the field, but it's almost as important to know what people did in the past, which led to that.
And it sucks because it goes to show you the lack of money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Lack of money. Everybody's scattering and scrounging just for money.
Yeah.
And now and instead of actually focusing on knowledge itself, what are you focusing on? Like, what do I have to do to get that money? You know? And that fucking sucks.
So it's now it's switched from the scientists not dictating what science gets done.
Now
it's the funding agency that's dictating what science gets done. Because what scientists now have to do is conform their science to meet what the funding agency wants to hear. If they want to do if they want to see genomics, you better be doing genomics. If they want to see high-level morphological analyses, you better be doing high-level morphological analyses. If you're not doing that, you're not going to get funded.
And
therefore,
who takes them?
I think it's internally
like amongst themselves?
regulated. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good question, actually, because they are scientists.
Right.
You have to be a scientist to get appointed to that position. But I think theory, let's say you're a scientist, you're a rock star, you're doing great things, you're getting funded by the funding agency. They then tell you later on in your career that they want you to be one of these positions. You get into this position, now you're deciding, you're the arbiter of the fate of the people who are applying for funding. Now you feel a pressure to only fund the coolest, latest and greatest technologies that are being used by the scientists. So now you're in this position of power to decide who gets funding, but you feel a pressure not to fund the best science, but to fund the people who are doing the newest, latest, and greatest things. So maybe these people that are, because they're internally, right? I don't think the government steps in and says, hey, NSF scientists, you need to fund these people. I think internally they say, hey, look, genomics is the way of the future. Anyone who's doing genomics, thumbs up.
Let's get them.
Let's give them money because that's how things are going. Anyone who's not doing genomics, they fuck them, or they better have something really, really, really cool that supplements that. So maybe there's like a pressure with being in that position. I don't know.
So it sucks.
It does suck.
It does suck, man. And I think that's the cool part about, like, especially with the internet now, and I think it's just about getting the word out there. When I tell people like what you guys do and everything, they're like, that's fucking awesome, you know. But it's kind of like, you know, that's all those GoFundMe websites are so cool.
Yeah.
And this is what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of like you put it out there. You know, for all you know, someone listens to it. Man, that's a fucking awesome idea. You know what I mean?
You want to give money.
Yeah, you want to give money, and that's the point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, because we all know, like you just said, if you're not doing blank, 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 go fuck yourself. Yeah. You're not getting anything. You're not getting any money. Yeah. You know, and it's just like
you're not getting money from the big guys.
Exactly.
You may get smaller monies, but you're not going to get the one that's has prestige along with it. I mean, crowdfunding is, I think, a big way to go in the future, or it can be very successful.
Or even Bitcoin.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
That's another good one. That's actually what I really want to do eventually one day. To like, cause I still want to pay my homage, my homage to science. Like, I want to be to the point where, like, I want to set up like a Bitcoin account to people that come in that are scientists.
Yeah.
That I'm gonna be like, look, I'm gonna have this guy here.
Yeah.
You like him? Give him some Bitcoin.
So what is that exactly? That's.
Don't ask me those questions. All I know is that you can transfer it to different money, and you use computer processing, and then they pay you Bitcoin, which is Bitcoin. And
so you invest money, and let's say you put in $20, you get 30 Bitcoins back.
Yeah. And that Bitcoin you can transfer it from, like, let's say 10 Bitcoin you can transfer it to like €1.
Yeah.
You know? And then 10 Bitcoin you can transfer it to $2.
Yeah, so it's a different currency form.
Yeah, but it's
more
like
universal
currency.
Internet currency.
So let's say right now, let's say 10 years down the road, you're a 10-year professor, and I have you again, whatever. And I'm like, you know, everybody likes fucking Danny. He's the shit. They heard about Raul. You know, they fucking love him. They saw the pictures.
They saw his picture.
All those Kenyan dudes naked and shit.
I couldn't take photos of naked guys. I felt weird. I was like,
really?
Let me take a picture of the tree. You get a few. They're staring at you.
And think about it, dude. You get 1 million Bitcoin, and this is just from so many subscribers that we have, or whatever that I have. You know, 1 million Bitcoin. Hey, that transfers to fucking $80,000 cash American.
It's huge.
Now you've got what?
That's career defining.
There you go.
That's just career changing. It's career defining.
And imagine, and that's the goal. I mean, it's all about having those people that listen. You know, that's why it's all about downloads. You know, you have those downloads. You know, in whatever years, you know, you have 5-6 million downloads every month whenever you put something out. You might look at the power that you have. You know what I mean? I can say, fuck this guy, fuck that guy, fuck. 9 million people are hearing me say that. 9 million. You know?
So even if it's negative, it's still
whatever it is, you know. So I think, that's like that's the vision that I have.
Yeah.
That's definitely the vision that I have, and that's how I want to. That's how I want to help. In that way, hopefully in that vision, in that way, in that platform. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that way they could be like, fucking come to my podcast.
Yeah.
You know, you bring me what you got.
It's powerful. Yeah.
Bring me what you got.
Yeah.
You know, and don't
let's have the public decide.
Yeah, let's you know what?
And you know what's really interesting is that guess where NIH is getting their money, or NSF? The public. It's our fucking taxes. Yeah. It's our tax money. So people that are getting funded, that are doing work just because NSF says that is what should be done right now, genome research or whatever, is basically in an indirect way funded by our tax money. It's taxpayer money that is giving these researchers who are doing their science, not because they want to do that science, but because they need to get the money from NSF to do something to keep their career life. And some universities say, hey, if you're not getting funding from NSF, 6 years before tenure, you're gone. If you get some universities saying, hey, if you get one grant from NIH or NSF, you have tenure.
Yeah.
Tenure means you're not fired.
Exactly.
I'll do whatever it takes to get tenure.
Genomics.
There's a funny article about like they measured the velocity and arc and range of penguin shit. Scientists thought that this was a fundamental issue with penguin biology, is understanding
Penguin shit velocity. Okay,
the projectile, how fast it comes out, does it curve as it is going away. Literally is a
penguin.
It's a science. I don't know, emperor penguin. Let's say emperor penguin. Literally, it's a paper in a scientific journal measuring velocity of penguin shit. I'm willing to do penguin shit research to get funded, because if that means I get funded, I'm going to get tenure, and I'm going to keep my job for a full career. People have that same mindset. Now, penguin shit's a crazy example, but I mean, it comes down to that level that people will say, I don't care what the science that I believe in, whatever I was trained, I don't care about that anymore. I'm just going to do whatever it takes to NSF to give me a grant or NIH to give me a grant so that I can get tenure and be a professor for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. Even if that requires me to be a whole different professor and study something different. And that's why my old boss, John, switched jobs. I know that's why. He never said it exactly, but I could tell because he told me he was fed up with how the university runs things, and it comes down to who gets jobs and who doesn't get jobs, and their criteria for that was whether you're getting funding, whether you're publishing. He told me he had a guy in their museum, old guy, he was emeritus, but he was publishing. He published 5 papers in 1 year. They told him because he was John, the big powerful professor, that he needs to fire this guy. I said, that guy published 5 papers last year. Who cares what journals they're in? They're 5 freaking papers. That's serious. It's real deal. And they still said, we don't think he's producing. He's not getting funding. Fires ass. And this was an old school guy who'd been there. I mean, and he was like, that's bullshit. There's no other thing should go. And unfortunately, there are some places that are like that.
Sucks, man. And that's the other thing. It's like I don't think a lot of people realize the struggles, and in every job.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Every job has its struggles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But to me, it's just kind of like, fuck. That fucking sucks, dude. Like,
Because from the outside looking in, it seems easy. Look, this guy's doing great.
whatever.
Oh yeah, that. And it's the same thing as a scientist looking in at other jobs. Like, oh, that must be easy. He's just shoveling dirt or something. But there's actually different things that are happening that we don't even.
And to me, like, what's called one of the best things that's ever told to me, it's like we're paid to discover new knowledge.
Yeah.
And yet, to me, I was just like, yeah, but we still have to scratch and claw to even get on, you know? So, not me personally, but like I just see it, you know what I mean? So to me, it's just kind of like, no, this is, there's got to be an ending point to this, because this is fucking bullshit. This is flat out bullshit, you know what I mean?
I mean, not every place is doing that. There are some institutions that I'm sure have a better regulation on how people are awarded, certain levels of their career, and there are the bad ones that unfortunately don't do those things. So it's not a blanket statement that every place is and every science is hard and getting funding is some bullshit thing, but it seems to be there's a trend going that way, which is unfortunate. And money is getting to the budget for NSF has got shrunk even by last year. Obama, I think they cut some of it. NIH, same thing. They're cutting some of the funding so that the money that's even available is less. So it becomes harder and harder to even be awarded. So the people in the criteria have to, the people in the the arbiters of the fate have to even make their criteria even more narrow and narrow. So even if they want to fund certain proposals, they say, hey, look, like,
You missed the period.
we only have X number of dollars. Sorry, not
Lose
good
your
enough.
job.
And
Just lost your job.
And it's unfortunate because it does lose people's jobs. I heard about one place, to get tenure, you have to have two, I think they're like R01s, which are like the big NIH grants.
Look,
you
in
have to
the
have
millions.
two. It's in the high, like, they both add up to $1 million. Let's say that. Something like that. It's huge, though. You have to have two of those before, in 6 years. Fuck, that's pressure. And you have to do some teaching and like some other administrative shit. on the
Deal with
side.
all your lab.
You have to deal
Everybody,
with, you have to
your
manage
postdocs,
people.
everything.
But you have to have two of those before 6 years, otherwise you're
Get the
not.
fuck out.
You're fired. That's their minimum criteria. I was like, damn, I want to work at like a liberal arts college. I'm gonna like, I'll write poetry, like I'll catch lizards on the side. Like, if that's the level, like, man.
It's fucking crazy. And that's the situation that we're at. And as me going through the career that I'm going through and looking at that, I'm just like, it's just getting worse. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. You know? And I think that's that's why I see it as like one of the things that can solve this. And I think the internet can solve this. I really think that, dude. Because you know what, as well as I do, again, we're using Dr. Khan for like the 10th time. If he came on here and he talked about his research, dude, he would blow it up and people would be like, I want to be a neuroscientist.
Why do you think
wanna
he has like
fucking-
8 people in his lab?
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Why do you think everyone like
Yeah.
joins his lab instantly?
No,
They don't even know
imagine
neuroscience.
it. And one, hopefully, I mean, I don't know, I would love to have him, you know, and I have a great setup and everything like that, dude, because I know, and that's my thing, I want to set something up for, like, those people that do research or whatever, or that I think in their good cause, not necessarily just research. Like, hey, if you like him, give him $1.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Give him $1.
Yeah.
Because I know that this person's going to use that for good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. He's not gonna spend it wasted.
Like booze and alcohol and snorting coke off of Korean hookers is bad, you know, or whatever you're into, man. Whatever you're, I'm all about that. Whatever you're into,
Right.
you know.
Whatever creates the juices make you creative enough.
Yeah.
I don't care whatever
Whatever
that
it
is. Just give me the good.
Yeah.
What's his name? Louis C.K. just put a new thing on his website or something like last week, and he said he was on the Daily Show right before the final episode was like on Wednesday. He was on Tuesday night. So the final episode of Daily Show Wednesday. Jon Stewart. Louis C.K.'s on there, and he says, "Hey, look, I've got a new." He was on there to promote his new promo. Of course, they didn't talk about it at all until the very end. But he says, "Hey, look, don't buy it. It's on my website, but don't buy it." That was his encouragement. And then Jon Stewart's like, "Well, what do you mean don't buy it?" And he's like, "Well, I think it sucks." Because it's a lot of my same jokes from like last time. It's not that great, but don't buy it. But so what I did, so you don't have to buy it, is you can tell me how much you want to pay for it. So if you want to pay $1, like 50 cents, or if you really like it, you want to pay $10, whatever. It's up to you. But at the end of the day, don't buy it. And I was like, that makes me more want to buy it because he's such a self-deprecation to the ultimate. But he's telling you, hey, look. If you're looking for the latest and greatest Louis C.K., this is not what it's going to be. But if you're thinking that and you're like, shit, disappointed, I'll pay you $1 and just to hear Louis C.K. And you can set the price, whatever it is. So you're going to get some people that want to pay $200 because they really like Louis C.K. You get other people that are bitter and like, nah, I don't like Louis C.K. $1. But he gives you that option, which is like groundbreaking. Because the store sets the limit.
Yeah.
The DVD costs $20. You're not gonna barter with me for $1. You're not gonna pay me $5.
Exactly.
You're paying $20 for this DVD of Louis C.K. He says, "No, I'm gonna own the rights to it, and I'm gonna sell it for you. Decide. You're the customer. You should be happy. I'm telling you, it sucks. You pay
You
me."
be the judge.
I think that's fantastic.
Fuck yeah, dude.
That gives the power more to the customer, decide what they want. Hey, if they didn't like this one, pay them $1. Unfortunately, it takes people who are successful to be able to do that, I think. Because if you don't have money, I'm
Pay
sure
whatever
it's
you
20.
want.
If I'm rich, I might be able to say, hey, look, all right, pay whatever you want. But if I'm pretty successful, he has a TV show, a bunch of really nice.
Dude, he sells out wherever he goes.
Yeah, I think it was Madison Square Garden.
He'll fucking
He
destroy
was
it.
already sold out. So even the one that he said sucked was Madison Square
But
Garden.
that's so cool that at the level that he's at,
He's willing to say that.
yeah, that gives him that much more credibility, and you want to even seek him out that much more. You know what I mean? So I think that's a new level, man. It's like, dude, you're in that position. It's like,
Because he
like
could
so
go he
generous.
could go flip and charge you $50.
Yeah.
Look, I'm Louis C.K. I sell out wherever I go. People pay $50 a ticket to get in here. You should pay $50 to see my live concert. I'm that good. He's on the other end saying, no, look, it wasn't my best. You know, he's that awesome about it. Like, I kind of suck. It was a lot of same material. Whatever you want, you pay. But I'd recommend don't buy this one. Wait for the next one or something, you know? That's freaking cool.
Well, hopefully, man, one day, man, we'll be. That's what I want to do, man. I'm like, and I want to go back to the bartender.
Yeah.
Do what you love.
Do what you love. Yeah, that's true.
Do what you love.
Because you know Louis C.K.'s doing it because he loves it.
And he's so good at it.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is he goes back to his old school places where he was doing stand-up, where people don't give a shit if you're famous or not. They just want to hear funny stand-up. He's like, I've gotten booed. I'm Louis C.K. And people still tell me I suck sometimes. Because he wasn't on that night, or like what? But he goes back to those nitty-gritty, whole, underground places where he originally started, and he's like, hey, look, this is what I got. I'm trying out some new material. If you hate it, tell me. If you don't, tell me. That's pretty freaking cool. Some people, when they reach that elite level, they don't go back to it, and they do the same jokes. Or whatever your craft is, you do the same thing. They're not willing to experiment with some new things, get back into the cages and spar with whoever, to learn some new skills. They're not willing to do that. They're like, nah, I've already won. I've gotten all these awards.
That's a good thing to do, man. That's the best way to do it. All right, well, we're reaching, dude, almost 3 hours, 3 minutes away. And I'm sure there's still like
There's so more.
there's so much more. So, pretty much, this is podcast number 1. Podcast number 1.
That's the first one, man.
Hopefully, many more to come. Look, definitely give me those pictures.
I will.
Dude.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll finish it up and finishing up the website, whatever.
You got to do your whole trip first, though.
Yeah.
Back with your
So hopefully I'm going to be able to get everybody else. Hopefully there's a lot of cool hippies and they want to talk about it. So I'm going to try to get before and after.
Yeah.
So it'll be cool.
Yeah.
And so yeah, man, here we go, man. Podcast number 1, and hopefully everything works out. And by the time I know it, dude, you're going to be getting like $1 million. $1 million $1 bills, dude.
I'll take them straight. I'll take them
$1
straight in my
bills,
pocket.
And
All
you
the way
could-
there.
You could stay in the Congo for a fucking. I wouldn't recommend you stay in the Congo for a year, but I'm just saying. Just in case, man.
Yeah.
All right, so that was pretty much it. So we're gonna go ahead and stop at 2 hours and 58 minutes. 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 58 minutes, 58 minutes, 58 minutes, 58 minutes, 58 minutes, 58 minutes, 58 minutes.